Good evening and welcome to Poker Night Live, the award-winning poker show that teaches you how to play the game of Texas Hold'em. Yes, tonight we will be watching live poker games on the net with real people and real cash. We can see everybody's hole cards. It's a wonderful way to learn the game. And to help us as well, we've got a poker expert in the house tonight. That's John Clark. Good evening, John.
Hello, Michelle.
It's wonderful to finally be working with you.
Thank you. Our first show together.
It is, and I'm sure it's going to be a very fruitful one.
I hope so.
With lots of information coming from your end.
Well, not whilst I'm playing Beat the Presenter.
Well, yes, this is it. John will be playing in our Beat the Presenter, and we're going to try and get my dad to play in it as well, so it could be very interesting for me tonight. Hopefully we'll see about that a bit later. Yes, John will be playing in a game of poker at 11, and then we will be showing that game at 12. Now, do remember, if you have any questions whatsoever, or comments or queries, we do like to hear from you. It's you guys that make the show. The ways you can do that, you can text us. There's the text, 84222. Do remember to text the word poker first, and then your question. And you can email as well. poker@pokernightlive.co.uk. And in the breaks, why don't you have a look at us on the World Wide Web, pokernightlive.co.uk. And there's a wonderful forum up there where everyone gets very involved and has a little chat about what's going on. Right, John, we're going to be watching multi-table tournaments tonight, as well as single-table tournaments and cash games. So if you wouldn't mind taking us around the tables.
Okay, Michelle. On table one, we have a 25 and 50 cent game. Usually about a $50 bring up, cash game. Looks like it's an 8-seat table, as ever. And on table two, we have the Poker Bowl MTT semi-final.
Wow.
6 players to qualify from 54 starters for the live final here in the Poker Zone studios, the Poker Bowl.
Oh, which will be wonderful.
Extra incentive to qualify there. We'll also be looking on table 3 at a $10 sit and go. That one looks as though it's just started. Still 7 players left. Blinds are fairly small. And also a $5 sit and go, a table that everybody can relate to. Looks like there's going to be a split pot on that hand.
Wonderful. Well, John, you've been playing recently, haven't you? Now, I know you've been abroad playing some poker.
Yes, Michelle.
How did that go? Tell us how that went.
It went as well as it possibly could, although I went to Helsingør in Denmark to play.
Well, you went to play backgammon, didn't you?
I went to play one of the world's great backgammon tournaments, which is the Nordic Open. One of the side events is a no-limit multi-table Texas Hold'em event. And make a long story short, I had a bucket load of luck and I won the tournament, and I came home.
You won the tournament. So you went to play backgammon, you didn't get anywhere, you decided to have a game of poker, and you won the tournament.
Ridiculous, isn't it?
And I'm sure it was all skill.
But that's what happened. What I learned from this is you don't win any kind of a fairly sizable multi-table tournament without a bucket load of luck.
I win them all the time purely on skill, John, I have to tell you.
I don't.
You're right. Well, no, there is quite an interesting hand you were telling about earlier, so we will talk about that a bit later in the show, if that's okay with you.
Sure.
But to start off tonight, do remember about our poker ball. This is a big thing for us on Poker Live. It's huge. So we're going to head over to that multi-table tourney, and I'll tell you a bit about how it started. So we'll go through the poker matrix. Now, basically, this is the Poker Night Live Poker Bowl semi-final. It's a multi-table tournament. It started off, we wanted all our regular players that play on our TV tables all the time to play in a massive poker bowl together. And the idea is that the 6 finalists would come here to the studio to play in a live game. So you'll be able to put faces to the lovely Hoofy and Dead Spiders and Enigma and all the people you recognise. We'll be able to see their lovely faces as Hoofy hits trips. Wonderful. Now, it started off about 6 weeks ago, I do believe, and we're here at the semi-final. Now, there's 54 entrants in this particular semi-final, and only 6 will be able to come here to the studio. So the 6 at the end of tonight, which is still standing, you will see them here playing live in a poker bowl, which is wonderful. And for these guys as well, I think it's a wonderful opportunity as well.
I hope so. We can't guarantee that Hoofy's going to get there, but we're all rooting for him. Not to say that we wouldn't like to see all of the players in the Poker Bowl, but there are only a limited number of places, and those who have the luck or the skill will come through and attend a live televised event here in the Poker Bowl.
Okay, so I suppose the best place to start tonight is we are an amateur night tonight, guys. So we are having a look at how the game is played and the beginnings of poker. We will be touching on the different elements of the game you'll need to know to start yourselves off tonight. But if you are a bit further down along the line, I know a lot of our viewers have been playing for 6 to 12 months now, so we'll be looking at people playing at that particular level as well. So multi-table tournament, John, what does this mean?
Well, in terms of your chances of qualifying, or the strategy early on?
Well, the structure to start with.
Okay, I think if there are 54 players in this tournament, that will mean it must be 7 tables it starts off at.
Okay.
You play it at the beginning, just like you would a single table tournament. And as the field thins out, and the tables are amalgamated, so that you're generally playing with no less than 7 at a table. So
they try and keep it even. As people are knocked out, people are moved tables.
People are moved tables, and the very experienced at these can figure out where they're going to get moved to, if they're really familiar with the site.
Okay.
There may also be a consideration for time, if you know where you're going to be moved to, and if you know that you might or might not hit the big blind as soon as you sit down. It's all part of the skill when playing on the internet.
Oh, okay.
But possibly more relevant in speed tournaments than this type of tournament. But slowly the field will thin out, and eventually you'll get down to 2 tables, and then eventually you'll get down to 1 table of 8, and presumably 6 players from the final table of 8 will qualify for the...
Come here. So it's pretty awful for the 2 players that do make it to the final table but then get knocked out.
Well, when we do get to a final table, 8 players with effectively 6 players cashing, as it were, that's going to be a very, very interesting time to see it.
Yeah.
Because that's like a sort of super bubble where only 2 players on the final table will not cash. And my guess is that will then end up incredibly tight and incredibly slow.
Yeah.
And he who has the courage will come through and triumph.
Well, it will be interesting. We'll be watching that at the end of the evening. So that's we know that's a multi-table tournament. We have 54 players. As players are knocked out, the tables are condensed until we're back down to 1 table. Obviously, we're concentrating on singular tables. So looking at this table here. Do we know the starting stack? I think it was 3,000. Let me check. Yep. So all of our players have been given 3,000 chips to start with.
It means there's an awful lot of play in this at the moment, with blinds at 10 and 20 and a starting stack of 3,000. This is something like 3 times the relationship between the blinds and the starting stack that you would normally get on a sit and go. This means that the finishing stacks are going to be enormous. I don't know quite how quickly they're raising the blinds, but this tournament may go for several hours.
Oh, that reminds me, I do have to do a big shout out actually, and we've got some Australian poker players playing tonight. There's some Australian players playing tonight in a nude poker tournament. They're playing, they're all Australian. I have to say a big shout out to Scott, Phil and Damo. So Scott, Phil and Damo, the Australian nude poker players, are playing in a tournament tonight, a home tournament. So hello, big shout out. Please let us know how that goes, and maybe some photos, maybe for me more than John a bit later on. Right, okay, let's go back to the game. So yes, I met them the other night. They watched the show. They're going to be playing tonight, and they play regularly in a nude game. Slightly worrying, maybe, but very interesting.
Might get some interesting tells in a live game like that.
You might do, mightn't you?
Especially if they're men.
Wonderful. Right, so a quick shout out to the guys on this table anyway. We've got Dead Spiders, we've got Hoofy there, we call him Hoofy, always catches me out. We've got Demi, we've got Enigma, we've got the double top, RTB 147, Graham P 1981, and Albus Fawkes at the top. So the blinds, what are they there for, John?
The blinds get the action going. The left of the dealer pays the small blind. The left of the small blind pays the big blind. The big blind is normally twice the level of the small blind. And the person in first position, that is to the left of the big blind, has to at least call the value of the big blind if he wants to remain in the hand. He also has the right to raise. And it's the same for every player acting thereafter. Those blinds may seem very small, but huge pots can develop from just tiny blinds like that, because we are, of course, playing no limit Texas Hold'em, which means what it says. Anybody, when it's their turn to act, can push all of their stack in if they so desire.
It gets very exciting when that happens.
A move that is probably underused, I would say.
Really?
At this level of tournament.
Underused?
I think so.
That's interesting you should say that, because it has been a subject that's come up quite a lot on Poker Night Live. And some people have said, some of our experts have said it's a great, obviously, move. Others have said there's no need to risk your tournament life so early on in a tournament.
That's true. One thing you know, that if you do move all in and you get called by a stack as large as your own and lose, you are out of the tournament. If you get called and you win, you haven't won the tournament. A huge difference. I mean, any of these players can double through now, and they're only actually slightly better off than they were 5 minutes earlier.
So therefore, what would be the benefit of doing this all-in move early on in a tournament?
Well, I can think of occasions, and I've seen Nick Weatherall do this in live games, where he will, perhaps on the dealer button or one off the dealer button, he will move all in into an unraised pot, and he knows that he's only going to get called by ace-king or ace-ace. And chances are that ace-king or ace-ace pre-flop would have raised in front of him, so it's probably not out there, unless somebody happens to be slow playing it. And every time he will scoop up the pot, and he's doing this regularly on Queen 8 and Queen 9 and things like that.
Actually, it's a really interesting point, because it goes back to what we say to everybody when they're starting, and I had the same when I started. Being able to read the table and using these little pointers to help you do that. Now, like you said there, just to reiterate that point, if this is when you're in late position, obviously, so you can see what your opponents have done first. And obviously you don't know what their cards are, so you need to look at their betting patterns. And generally, correct me if I'm wrong, but generally if everybody has just limped or just called all the way round to you, it's usually good to think there's no huge hands out there. It's usually good to think there's no aces, there's no kings, there is an ace-king, because people tend to raise with these hands.
No, actually the reason you do this is because there are aces and kings out there, but they're raggy aces and raggy kings, and your Queen 9 blasts them out of the pot because they can't take the heat, because they think they're getting out-kicked, so they throw it away. I think it's an underused move, let's say.
Oh, excellent.
And I also like James Browning's statement that King Queen reigns
is the ruler of the unraised pot.
Exactly that.
And this, I mean, I take the mickey bit about James out of that little saying, because he does use it a lot. But it's wonderful the amount of times that's proved when we watch.
Well, it's absolutely true. And I've used this myself in live games, and it works all the time, because people will throw raggy aces away when you raise big with King Queen, and they're actually ahead with a raggy ace against King Queen, slightly ahead. And all credit to James. I think he pioneered this expression.
He did. He's very proud of it, bless him.
And I think it's extremely accurate. King Queen reigns in the land of the unraised pot.
Land of the unraised pot, that's it.
Right, well, King Jack is reigning in this particular pot, Michelle. The ace-4 is virtually drawing dead. In fact, he is drawing dead. And he's put a tiny little tempter in for 20. And even that is too much.
It's a little bit
Better to
unfortunate,
call.
I think, for Shelby there, because even though we can see he's got a wonderful hand, it's only a wonderful hand if you can be paid off by somebody with a less
Of
wonderful
course it is.
hand.
It's not his fault that nobody else had something to compete with him, and therefore he wasn't able to get paid on it. But very often in these games, you only get paid if you've got the very best hand and somebody's got the second best hand out of all the possible hands.
Mm-hmm. Very much so. When you've got a pair of kings and they've got a pair of aces, that's when you're going to start losing money.
Of course. And some hands you are just destined to lose all your chips. It's as simple as that. And on the final table in Helsingør, I saw one such hand where one player is playing a pair of fours, another player is playing a pair of threes, and another player is playing ace-queen.
Okay.
And the flop comes down ace-4-3.
No. So they all had. So the ace queen had a pair of queens, but the other two had trips.
No, the ace-queen has got a pair of aces with a good kicker.
Yeah. Oh yes, ace queen.
The pair of fours has hit trip fours.
Yeah.
And the pair of threes has hit trip threes. It's the ace-queen to act first, and he trap checks to slow play it.
Thinking
And
he's ahead.
both the two sets trap check behind him as well, and so the turn comes down, and guess what it is?
It's on an ace.
It's another ace,
So he's got trip aces now.
but they've both got a full house.
Oh, of course, because the board paired. Yeah. Oh, how awful for the full house threes.
You see, so then the trip aces thinks he's now miles ahead, comes out with a small bet. The house of fours then calls, flat calls, and then the house of threes comes a fair amount over the top, whereupon the trip aces puts it all in, followed by the house of fours puts it all in, whereupon the house of threes thinks it's Christmas and puts it all in, and the house of fours wins everything and busts two people out of the final table.
And the pair of aces being such an underdog when the flop come down, with the one pair to the two trips.
Oh yes, I mean,
And hitting his
virtually
third.
drawing dead. Virtually drawing dead. I mean, I think he's only about 1 in 1,000 to win this at that stage, because he can only win with running aces or running queens.
How awful for the threes house.
Not even sure running queens would do it. After the turn, yes, he can win it with a queen on the river. Yes, he can win it. So he's got 3 outs on the river and 1 ace. So he's got 4 outs on the river. So he's about.
You can't get away from that, can you? Neither of those can. Do you think?
It's just a hand that you're destined to lose all your chips on. You know, that's poker. It's going to happen from time to time. And if you don't put your chips in the pot when you've got an enormous hand, which on that occasion a house of threes is an enormous hand.
Yeah.
The house of threes, by the way, was with a British guy called Errol Williams.
Errol Williams.
Who did very well to make the final table there. And he was very, very unlucky that he happens to hit a house of threes when someone else has hit a house of fours.
You can't get much unlucky in that. It's awful.
Just a hand where you are destined
To lose.
to lose all your chips, and you've done nothing wrong.
And it does happen, and you have to be able to, to realise, to play poker and to play it a lot, you have to realise this is going to happen, and you can't let yourself be affected by it, can you, when
Absolutely
you're playing?
not. If you start getting emotional about things like that, when you haven't made any kind of a mistake, you've just been dealt the second nuts and somebody else has been dealt the nuts. There's nothing you can do about that. I mean, if you don't put your chips in when you've got an enormous hand, when are you going to put your chips in? So I think Errol Williams played perfectly, and he was right to slow play it in the first place. It's just one of those hands that whatever he does, he's going to lose all his chips, because he's virtually drawing dead when the flop comes down, and yet he looks as though he's got a virtually unbeatable hand. And that's when you lose all your chips.
But then, I mean, at least you can look back on that, and like you say, you know you haven't made a mistake, and the only time you can get cross with yourself is when you make a bad call or a bad decision.
Ah, that's something different.
Yeah.
If you can identify that you have made, you know, exactly as you say, an extremely bad call, or even an extremely bad raise, then you've only got yourself to blame. And it's usually only through these type of experiences that you learn what is a bad call. Very often, I think it's worth remembering that...
Oof, snap it, it's a full house.
Yes, but it's not over. a king or an ace or a 5 or an 8 or a jack. If everyone stays in the pot, Snap It's still alive.
He's checking it. Look at him, a little trappy, checky, Snap It.
Well, Snap It might regret this check. He mustn't check this. He's got to bet this. He's got to thin that field out a bit. And there's the jack to beat him on the river, Michelle.
Okay, this is very interesting.
If he put a bet in, the ace-jack may well have thrown it away.
So Snap It there. I mean, let's talk about this trap checking. He's trapping in hoping that someone else will bet.
No, he's not trapping. I think he's scared of a 10 being out there.
Oh, okay.
Obviously, a 10 would check. If you flop quads, you're going to check. Snap It's got off the hand. Very well played, Snap It.
Brilliantly, okay.
But it was a pot that he could have won had he put a bet in a bit earlier. He flopped a house. I think it's reasonably safe to assume he was the only person at the table with a 3, and reasonably safe to assume that nobody had a 10. I would have liked to have seen him bet there, especially with position on the dealer button. Had he put a bet in on the first occasion when it came round to him to bet, I think he would have been scooping up those chips and not the boss.
And this comes down to aggression as well, doesn't it, as part of the game. And sometimes when you don't know where you are, it is very hard to make a bet or try and work out where you are, which is it's very interesting to see the process of elimination there in your head as you're explaining that. It's unlikely anyone's got a pair. It's a 10 because there's 3 10s on the flop.
Right.
He's got, like you say, it's unlikely anyone else has got a 3.
Well, there wasn't a lot of pre-flop action, was there? I think the pot was only 120, I think, at that stage.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I can see it on the other. I can see it on the other monitor now. So there'd been blinds of 15 and 30. So in fact, it was an unraised pot because there were 4 players in it, and they all ended up paying the same amount as the big blind. Which
is very strange, considering there's an ace king and an ace jack.
Very strange. It means that they're perhaps playing a little bit too tight. I Am a Fish might well have raised off the small blind with ace king. The boss might well have raised an unraised pot, one off the button with ace jack suited. Nobody raised it, and I think Snap It had every reason to assume there weren't any big hands out there, and he could have put a raise in final position on the flop. Anyway, he didn't, and we move on to the next hand.
To the next hand. Now, we are obviously on a different table here. This is just another table of our Poker Night Live semi-final for the Poker Bowl. Do remember, 6 of the 54 players tonight will make it through to play live in the studio.
Here's quite a nasty hand, Michelle. Ace-8 suited has got middle pair, top kicker, and a gut flush draw. And Bill, 43-43, has hit trip 7s. Now, how's he going to play this? Oh, he's slow playing it. He's just flat called. Is he going to check this? He probably doesn't like the other club on the board. He has checked it, expecting a continuation bet from the ace-8 suited, who would be wise to back off now that he's been called in the first place. He does correctly back off. Bill hits a house of 7s, but I don't think he's going to get paid on this hand because Split has already decided that he called me with something. I haven't really got very much, and I don't think I'm going to bother calling this. I predict a fold here.
Well, Spit.
He's thinking way too long about this. He can't believe he's ahead when he hasn't. Well played, Split. Spit or Split? Spit. Well played, Spit. He quite correctly found out where he was by putting a bet in.
He asked the question.
When he hit the flop, yes, he asked the question. He got the answer, a flat call from Bill, and he backed off after that. It was fairly clear that he wasn't winning, because what could Bill have to call him with in the first place, unless it were a better hand? And then he didn't improve. So he got off the pot. Well played, Spit.
Because this is internet poker, and the only tool you have is the betting patterns. So this is what we use to try and decipher where we stand. Because obviously there's 2 ways to win at a game of poker. You can either have the best hand in a showdown, or you can make your opponents believe you have the best hand by making them fold. But obviously it's not quite as easy as it sounds. So that's what we're here for.
Now here's an interesting hand, Michelle. I Am a Fish has flat called the blind with 5-5, and quite correctly, in my view. King has raised to 120. I Am a Fish is in terrible shape against King, But he's decided to call in the hope that he hits a set, and that's the sort of flop that will allow I Am a Fish to get off the hand, and it's a horrible flop for Alder. If I Am a Fish puts a bet in now, I wouldn't blame Alder for throwing this away. But I Am a Fish doesn't have the taste for that. Okay.
Oh, and the third ace. They've both got a house now.
They've both got a house. This is going to be quite difficult for I Am a Fish to read Alder, because he must assume he hasn't got an ace, and he's...
Oh, he only cost him 90 in the end. Oh, it could have cost him so much more.
Did he call on the end there?
Yep, he called the 90.
He called on the end.
But it was a teaser bet. Alder's obviously thinking that I Am a Fish has absolutely nothing, and he's thinking, what can I do here to try and get paid? What amount can I put in which he is going to pay me? And I suppose if he doesn't think I Am a Fish has anything, by putting in just 90, it might be just enough for I Am a Fish to call.
It's a sucker bet on the end, because if I Am a Fish has not got an ace, I think his opponent, Alder, had the nuts, in fact. Yes, he's got the nuts, assuming that I Am a Fish hasn't got an ace. So he's got an incredibly strong hand. He's put a sucker bet on the end, and he's got paid for it. And that's sometimes what you need to do, to put a tiny bet on the end so that you get something extra out of the pot instead of nothing. Yeah,
if you make it too big, someone without anything's just going to fold. You're not going to gain anything. So try and work out what your opponent will pay you if they don't really have anything, but they're not sure you do. We do have an email here from Snowblind. Good evening to you, Snowblind. He says, hey, great show, as usual. Now, if I was just wanting to let all the presenters know that some Poker Night Live players are planning a night out in Newcastle at Asper's in the Gate, anyone interested can check the Poker Night Live forum. There you go. Thank you very much for inviting us. He says, anyway, my question tonight is about a multi-table tournament I played in the other day. I had 75,000 chips and was on the big blind, which was 40,000 chips. The player under the gun goes all in. One other player call, they both have me covered in chips. I have ace-3 unsuited. Was I right to call, considering I was in the small blind next, which was another 20,000 chips? Interesting situation. Thank you very much, Snowblind. What do you think in that situation, John?
I think it's a no-brainer. He's pot committed with the blind,
okay,
and he has to put it in. I mean, what is he going to do? I assume he means that he's put 40,000 in from 75,000, so he's only left with 35,000 chips anyway. If that's the big blind, that means that he's going to be on the small blind next, which will be basically the remainder of his chips.
So he was committed.
He's pot committed, complete no-brainer, absolutely correct. He's got an ace, even if it's unsuited, which is only about 1% difference anyway. He may well be in terrible shape, but he's going to be in even worse shape if he folds.
Yeah, okay. And it's a good point to make as well to everybody, because when you're in a tournament and the blinds are huge, and I do see people which are just trying to hang on and they get a bad hand, they're in the blinds, the blinds are more than half of their stack, yet they still don't push in.
Die with your boots on.
Any two cards are
Any two cards. Never forget that any two cards are probably about 38% against any other two cards. You can play Jack-Queen against Ace-King and you're still 38%. It doesn't feel like it, and you're not happy when the guy turns over Ace-King.
No,
but
there is a chance.
You've still got, there's more than a chance, you're 38%. You can have 2-3 against Ace-King and you're still 38%, perhaps a little bit less. But
and what you will make out of winning that pot is better to what you would get if you waited and played the next hand. And there's nothing
if he's put more than half his stack in on the big blind, he's got the small blind coming next. Complete no-brainer, and I assume he put it in.
Yep.
Yeah, well, he made
he was asking if he did the right thing.
He made the correct
Snowblind,
play.
You've been told, you were correct, so well done. We do have an email from Wayne as well. Good evening to you, Wayne. He says, hi guys, I'm sitting in a 25-cent, 50-cent, 10-seater cash game, doing really well, getting some good cards and flops. No need to bluff, just playing good cards and coming out on top. New player comes to the table with a short stack, about $7. He's sitting on my left, and for 3 hands, goes all in pre-flop. He gets away with it each time, each time and picks up the blinds. I know exactly the type of people you're talking about, and don't you love to be able to call them when you have a good hand? He says, then I am dealt 7-7 in early position. I raise 3 times the big blind. I've got a good image at the table, and generally I know that's going to get me through, or I'm against a better hand. But the person on my left goes all in again. The action is passed round to me. What would you do? Would it be right to call, or should it be folded, even though it's the 4th hand in a row he has done it? Well, I decided to call, believing that it was just another move, and it turns out he had ace-queen and catches a queen on the turn to take the pot down. On the positive, he has calmed down, so even though he had taken some of my money, now I seem to know where I am against him, which will make for an easier game. Many, many thanks. And now this is a common problem on the cash tables on internet, isn't it, with these short stacks coming in and going all in?
There's no problem with what Wayne did. First of all, Wayne, you were a favourite pre-flop with 7-7 against ace-queen, something like a 52-48% favourite. You're absolutely correct to call him because you've got additional information that he has behaved like a maniac and he deserves to be called. And when you have somebody coming to a table like that with $7 going all in every hand, he cannot have a good hand every hand, and somebody has to keep him honest. You did it, you got your chips in when you were, albeit a small favourite. He caught a queen on the river. Remember, he has to improve that hand. You don't have to improve it to win. You were favourite. He got lucky. My prediction is that if you understand all of that, whatever you lost to him will be a sound investment. Stick on the same table with him and it'll come back to you, Wayne.
Yes, lovely. Well, we're going to head back to our multi-table tournament. Thank you very much, Wayne, for your email. And it is true. It's these players. It's a bad move going all in constantly with mediocre hands, and when other players are making bad moves, you're going to be making money in the long run.
That stinks of a player who's got $7 left in his account and is desperate to get rid of it to save him the trouble of cashing out of it.
Yeah.
And he's absolutely correct to call Wayne. Well played, and keep up the good work. So back on the multi-table tournament, we've gone to yet another table here. We're trying to cover as many people as we possibly can. We've got Farce in there, as one of your favourite players, Michelle.
Oh, Mrs. Bandit, hello.
And
fellow girly.
PUFC boy, we've seen him around before.
Yes, Mr. Posh.
And PUFC, is this Portsmouth United
FC, yes,
Football
I think
Club?
It's Portsmouth. I
Is
don't
it
really
Portsmouth?
follow football.
Plymouth United?
I'm not sure, actually, I'm not sure whether it's Portsmouth or Plymouth. Posh, can you tell us, please?
You call him Posh, do you?
Well, his name, yeah, so that's something to do with the football thing, so they all call him Posh Boy. So I really don't follow football, so I should know from this.
Okay.
I'm sure someone will let us know. On that email, poker@pokernightlive.co.uk, or that text, 84222.
Now, poor old Dave Wilk has managed to get ace-ace on the big blind. Probably should put a little bet in here, because Bordeaux has got the straight draw, albeit a gut shot. Dave will see him off if he puts a raise in now. Well played, Dave. No more free cards for Bordeaux, and Dave takes it down. Didn't get paid with his pair of aces, because, as you commented earlier, Michelle, there was no hand out there really to contest anything with him. And that sometimes happens when you get a pair of aces. A lovely place to have aces on the big blind.
Ah, yes.
They're always
very hidden.
Congealed, as they say. Anyway, 10-10 up against King-King in terrible shape. Dave now wishes he had the ace-ace on this hand, thinking a long time, and he re-raises. I'm not sure that's a great move, in my view.
Not only that, the re-raise wasn't very much.
No.
So it seems quite strange.
What's the point of it, then?
It's like, well, he's obviously, the only person that's going to fold to that minuscule re-raise is somebody that was bluffing in the first place.
Well, I think that Wilton Cat should have, Wilton Cat or Cut? Wilton Cat should have come over the top to the re-raise and pushed it all in.
Well, he's taking it now, poor old Dave.
But he might have been able to double through on that hand and bust Dave out. Because once Dave has re-raised, Wilton should know that there is only one hand out there that's beating him at that particular moment, which is ace-ace. And I think that would have been a great time for Wilton to push it all in. But as yet, we haven't seen a single person push it all in.
Not at all.
A much underused move. And if ever there was a time when that would have been a perfectly reasonable play, That was it. Anyway, Bordeaux on ace-ace. He knows he's got the best hand at the table. I'm not quite sure why he comes out firing that much into small blinds. 4 times the blind when he's got a good position against the blinds. He just picks up 75 chips. Not impressed with that move. We see it all the time here on Poker Night Live.
Well, the aces and the slow playing with, oh, there they are again.
They are
They're
again.
having force, aren't they?
And fast with the 9-9 is going to turn this hand into a fast, that's for sure.
Oh no,
Because
Mrs. Bandit,
he's
you're going to
in
be
terrible
all in.
shape, but he's picked up
Oh,
a set on the flop, and now it's the ace-ace that's in terrible trouble.
Look at that. Well done, Mrs.
The only way he's going to get off this is if a straightening card comes down, but I think he's going to come out firing here, and Fast thinks it's Christmas, doesn't re-raise. Excuse me, he was all in, he couldn't re-raise.
Mrs. Bandit was all in, Fast was all in. Well, look, you've doubled up, Fast. It's always nice. Always nice.
Are we having a look at that hand again? No, we're not. Okay, on to the next hand.
Okay, so obviously the first decision we're making in the game of poker is, do we play with these 2 cards that we've been given?
Mm-hmm.
And as a starting player, it's always very difficult to know what hands you should and shouldn't be playing with. I mean, is there any guidelines here that can help people? I mean, generally, we advocate quite tight play early on when you're learning, to be quite tight aggressive.
Okay, if anybody wants to do any research on the internet, you can find a lot of Slansky's work, which talks about the different categories of hands. Category 1, ace-ace, king-king, queen-queen, ace-king, ace-king suited, etc. Category 2, jack-jack, 10-10, ace-queen, ace-jack, and so on. That's well worth a read. But these are the premium hands. And it's fairly clear now that you can't sit at a table and expect to pick up enough premium hands and to win with them to come through and win a tournament, especially a large multi-table tournament like this. You have to take your opportunities when they present themselves. And when I've discussed exactly this point with some extremely strong players, their answer is always the same. They say, I will play any 2 cards, depending on position, relative chip stacks, and what I know about the people who are in that pot.
Okay.
I'm more likely to play a hand if I've identified a very weak player who's already in that pot, rather than if that same player who is in that pot I happen to know is a very strong player. And I might, if I've got a marginal choice as to whether to play or not, I may fold a hand to a known strong player or play a hand against a known weak player.
And as far as the chip stacks, which we've spoken about, are concerned, is this because you don't want to get involved with somebody that can take you out, that has a bigger stack than you?
Well, again, Michelle, there are 2 schools of thought. One is that you don't want to get involved with the big stack or the stack that can bust you out. The other school of thought is that you do want to get involved with the big stack because that's the stack that can double you through.
True. Ah.
And if you're making marginal calls, very often people get this exactly the wrong way round by thinking that, oh well, he's only got a small stack, I may as well call him and hope I catch my draw. When in fact it should be exactly the other way round, because you're calling to catch a draw on the implied odds principle, such that when you do catch it, you get paid a lot. Very often you have to be able to imagine that you're going to get paid something like 20 times what it costs you to call. Now you've got to stop and check whether your opponent has got that many chips to give you the implied odds that you need to be able to call in the first place. And people seem to think, okay, I'll call against him because he's only got a short stack and therefore he can't hurt me, when in fact, because he's got a short stack, that doesn't give you the implied odds to make the call in the first place.
Oh, no, this is starting to get very interesting. Because you don't think along them lines a lot of the time. I've done that myself where I've thought, well, I could knock him out here. I could take another player out of the competition here, so I may as well call.
Well, that may be right as well. It depends what sort of a hand you're calling with. But I mean, if you're calling, for an 8-outer or something like that to hit your open-ended straight, when you're, clearly behind at the moment. You would do this against the large stack because you're going to get paid a lot if you hit it. You don't do it against the short stack because you're not going to get paid a lot. You see, it's not so much a question of knocking players out. I mean, in a big multi-table tournament, you don't really gain very much by knocking a player out that's got a short stack. You don't mind someone else knocking him out, and the fact that there's one fewer player there. Perhaps he was on a ventilator beforehand and he was, destined to go out fairly soon anyway. I'd much rather play a big hand against a big stack and try and double through.
Excellent. Well, everybody do take notice of these little hinters. Believe me, for the last 10 months, I've been taking down these little pointers from these experts, and they all do help. And do make a little, if you are new and if you've only been playing a couple of months, do make a list. I have made a list which is next to my computer, which has things I should be remembering when deciding whether to, when I'm deciding which decision I should make. And just things like, what's their stack? Are they desperate? What did they do pre-flop? Should you be getting involved? What's your stack? What position are you in? And what your train of thought should be.
Sorry to interrupt you there, Michelle. We've got a big hand building here. Ghost Zapper is effectively bluffing by coming over the top and re-raising Bordeaux, who throws it away. I don't know what Bordeaux is thinking. A shocking laydown from Bordeaux there. He's hit top pair. He's got a tremendous kicker. Admittedly,
he was worried.
Oh no, we've lost it. Excuse me. I've forgotten the name of the player that raised with the pair of eights.
Ghost Zapper.
Zapper?
Ghost Zapper.
Sweet move from Ghost Zapper when it works, but don't try this at home.
Well, we've gone on to another table now. We can see we've got Stunters, Sharky Shark, Gilberto, Domatrix, Balrog.
Balrog catches a 10 on the river to bust Moosmit out. Moosmik
goes out with the aces.
And a pair of aces gets beaten by a pair of 10s on the river. He's wandering off sick as a parrot.
Ooh, what a horrible hand to go out with.
On the river as well. Just 2 outs on the river.
You river rat, Balrog. Swimming to freedom.
Gives Balrog a comfortable chip lead on that table. Of course, Balrog UK, we've seen him many times on Poker Night Live.
Well, look, and you can see we've been joined by quite tight now because we've lost one. The tables have reconfigured. People have been moved.
Yep. And what's going to happen here, Michelle? The big blind has the strongest hand. The big blind
takes it.
And takes it down uncontested. Another thrilling hand here on Poker Night Live.
All happens. Well, it has been happening. The aces are out in force tonight and not doing particularly well. Domatrix with a pair of 10s again. Well, let's have a look at what some of these players are doing and what you think of their moves. Let's have a look with the 10s. Now, he's just flat called. Not raised. Do you think that's a bit risky?
I think the 10s should have raised there. He has no idea where he is now. The 4-6 is getting his open-ended straight draw for free. Finally, Domatrix smells the weakness at the table and puts a raise in. He gets the winning hand to lay it down, which was the King-Jack, who would have caught a Jack on the river. The 4-6 called for the open-ended straight draw, didn't catch it, and didn't put any more money into the pot.
Okay, now you know the saying King Queen is the raiser reigns in the land of the unraised pot, which we all know to be true. Now, if you're in early to mid position, does that mean you should be limping?
Different story. I would still put a small raise in, frankly, and throw it away to a re-raise. You see, now he's put a raise in, and Balrog with his ace-10 has thrown it away. And the King Queen's in pretty good shape here. He's also got the King of Diamonds as a backup, and the 6-6 thinks he's ahead. And Gilberto's having none of it, comes straight over the top. Well played, Gilberto, and the 6-6 should throw it away now. He's more than bet his hand already. He's been re-raised, and he's correctly thrown it away.
And Gilberto was the original raiser as well, pre-flop.
But quite tight was not quite tight on that occasion. A flop with 2 overcards to his small pocket pair came down, and he came out firing. Sometimes it works, but sometimes you run into that overcard and get re-raised, which is what happened on this occasion.
Well, thinking about that with a pair of 6s, you're calling a re-raise pre-flop. Now, the likelihood is you're going to see overcards on the flop. So is that the way, if you're going to play sixes to a raise pre-flop, is the only way you can play, because the likelihood is you're not going to hit your six, the likelihood is you're going to see overcards, so is the only way to play it to come out firing and hope to push everybody off?
I don't think so, but some people will think that.
Surely you can't call a pre-flop raise with a pair of sixes just hoping to catch the six.
Yes, because when you do catch the six, you're going to make a packet.
But doesn't that make it a bad call then? Because you're having to put that much more money in pre-flop, and the chances of you hitting your six, the odds are so bad.
Not at all.
No?
Sometimes your six will be ahead. Sometimes the texture of the flop will only include one overcard, in which case you're probably winning. You wouldn't have been on that occasion because a queen was there to match up with Gilberto's king-queen. And sometimes you will catch your set and you will probably get paid a lot. So you're calling on the implied odds principle.
And so that also means the other way around, that you can also be raising with middle pairs.
You can. There are two ways to play it.
Right, okay, well, we're going to have to leave that multi-table tournament there for the moment. We have stayed with it for the whole of the first part of our show, but that's because it's so exciting, because it's our Poker Bowl semi-final. It's the Poker Night Live multi-table tournament semi-final. The 6 winners of the table tournament are going to be here live in the studio, guys and girls. We're going to see them in the Poker Bowl. It's all very exciting, and I can't wait to see who the top 6 are. Right, okay, we've got an email here from Ian. Good evening to you, Ian. He says, hi guys, my name is Ian. I am a long-time watcher, but first-time emailer. I've been playing Texas Hold'em for about 6 months to a year. Before that, I have played some 5-card draw. My question comes from my recent experiences. I am a good cash game player. I have more than doubled my bankroll since I started recording about 2 months ago. If I excluded buy-ins to tournaments, it would have gone up more than 3-fold. However, when playing in tournaments, I don't seem to get on anywhere near as well. In the last 3 months, I have finished 4th on the bubble all 3 times. This is despite the fact that I regularly outplay these guys in cash games and generally will take a large chip lead during the middle of the tournament. But then I seem to make a stupid mistake or terrible play. An example of this would be what happened in the tournament on Friday. I was the big blind and had Queen 2 offsuit. One caller and the small blind folded. I checked and the flop came Ace King 10, it was rainbow. I made a small bet and the other guy called. The turn came a queen, giving me a pair, but making a blatant straight draw on the table. I made another small raise and the guy goes all in for about 8 to 10 times my bet and about half my stack. The guy was the short stack, a fairly good player, but known to bluff. I don't know why, but I called, and sure enough, he turned over the jack. From there, I was under pressure as the blinds went up next hand and I had the choice all in or fold. I hung around for a while, but I went out 4th. Can you suggest anything that will help me improve my concentration over longer periods? Our cash games usually last about 2 hours, whereas the tournaments last about 3 to 5 hours. Should I be getting up and taking a break more often? Any help would be appreciated.
Okay. Sorry to mention this, Ian, but I don't like your call here. There are 2 overcards to your queen. I'm not quite sure why you think your pair of queens were ahead. I need to just look at your email again, because I can't seem to get it up on my monitor.
He's got Queen 2. He's got a queen, pair of queens.
I think if you're playing cash tables regularly, you ought to know that if somebody sticks all their chips in with a flop of Ace, King, Queen, 10, about 99 times out of 100, they've got the jack. And there's obviously no point in you calling that, but of course you're still losing to any king or any ace, or any pocket 10s as well, or indeed any queen. No, queen jack would be the straight. So you
should have run away.
You haven't got a kicker problem. I hate your call there, Ian. Sorry to mention that. You must also realise that the main difference between cash tables and sit and goes is that you should be seeing far fewer percentage of flops on sit and go tables. You're probably seeing about 40% of flops on a cash table, It's considerably less than that. You shouldn't really be seeing more than 20 to 22% of flops on sit-and-go tables. We're coming up to the break.
We are. I mean, the Queen too. What are you playing with? But yes, we are coming up to a break now. We'll have Beat the Presenter with John and hopefully my dad after the break. So don't go anywhere. Enjoy the poker news. And John and I will be back very shortly. So we'll see you then. Good evening and welcome back to Poker Night Live. The excitement is unbearable, ladies and gentlemen. John is playing on our Beat the Presenter. John Clark is playing on our Beat the Presenter tonight with no other than the governor, my dad. He's using my account at home, so he's PokerZone M, and he's playing against John, who's Barry the Bully. So it's all confusing, but it's all wonderful, and I can't wait to watch it. So hi to everyone else on the table. We've got Hoik Balls and H2O Stephen, and we'll say hello to them all later, but guys, enjoy it. We're going to be watching this at 12 o'clock, and it's going to be hilarious. And I can't wait to see my dad play on live telly. Right, okay, if you have any questions whatsoever, John is going to be concentrating wholly on this game. Do send me some questions, people, because I'm on my own for the next bit. So I want the word poker and then your question to 84222. And you can email as well. And that's poker@pokernightlive.co.uk. And yes, do you remember the web? pokernightlive.co.uk as well, because there's a forum up there. And now I did tell you a bit earlier about our... It's so funny that John's playing and drinking tea, and it's all wonderful. You concentrate, John. We want to see a good performance. And Dad, if you can hear me. Yes, the multi-table tournament we're watching tonight, it's brilliant. It's the Poker Night Live Poker Bowl, and it's the semi-final. So they've been battling it out for a few weeks now. But the top 6 from tonight, they're not going to be playing in another internet game. No, they're going to be live at the Poker Bowl studio. Live. They're going to be real in the flesh. And we're going to be able to see what they look like. So Hoofy, if you get through, you're going to have a haircut, get some powder on, you can borrow my lip gloss, and it's going to be wonderful. So we're going to be looking at that a lot tonight. So I think everyone agrees that it's very exciting, it's good to watch. Do get your questions coming in. I think we are going to watch a bit of a cash game as well in this next segment, because we haven't had one yet. But let's head back to that MTTT straight away and see what's going on over there. Right. Okay, we started off with 54 players. We have 47 players left. The biggest stack is just over 9,000 chips, which is quite big. And the small stack is 690, so whoever that is, excuse me, they've got some work to do. Right, on this particular table we've decided to come to, we've got Beardo, Skitsy, Kev, we'll just call him, Jeffers, Shaky Shark, Hoik Balls, Likey Serve, and Ace Jaws as well. Hoik Balls is playing with John at the same time, but not exactly at the same time, because of course all of our TV games are we show them to you in a delay of about 10 minutes, and this is to stop our players being able to put the telly on and seeing everybody's cards, because that wouldn't be fair. So it is a multi-table tournament. The blinds do go up regularly. I think it's about every 12 minutes. I'm not completely sure. At the moment, they're on 75 and 150. So for those of you that are new to the show, you will see that everybody gets to put in those blinds there to create action. As you can see, Jeffers is on the small blind at 75, and Shaky Shark is on the big blind, which is 150. And Kev is on the dealer button. Now that will move clockwise, so everyone is forced to put in the same throughout the game. And it's not always a bad thing. Sometimes nobody has anything, they fold it to you, you get your big blind back as well as the small blind. Jeffers has decided to call with his King 10. Shaky Shark doesn't have anything, he has a 3-4. Jeffers makes a bet and Shark takes it down. Jeffers was first to act there. Now, this makes a huge difference, as John and I have already spoke about tonight. Your position is paramount to the decisions that you make. Now, Jeffers is on the dealer button. He has the best position here, and the reason it's the best position is because he gets to see what everybody else does first. Now, let's say, for instance, you're sitting in first position, which is one to the left of the big blind. Or let's just say you're on the small blind, so you're going to be first to act each round. Now, if you're first to act, you don't know what anyone else has got, so you have no information on your players. Now, let's say you have an okay hand, you've hit middle pair, you have got something, but you're quite easily beaten, and you decide to put in a raise to see where you are, putting a bet to see where you are. Now, for all you know, someone's hit a monster, you're going to put in a bet, but you don't know what anyone else is going to do. Somebody could re-raise you all in, and you've just lost that money you've put in because you're going to have to fold. Now, if you're in late position and you have a middle pair, or you're not sure where you are, now you're going to get information first. So you can see if someone's sitting there with a monster, they may check trap you. Do be aware of that, but that's fair enough. If you do put in a bet and they come over the top, you know you've been check trapped. Good luck to them. But if it's limped round you, if it's checked round to you and nobody's done anything, you can say to yourself, right, the likelihood is, the reasons no one's made a bet is because nobody's got anything. Therefore, my mediocre hand I have is probably good enough. Now I know where I stand, and you can put in your bet. And this is why position is good. Now, bear in mind, people are going to know you've got position. So if you're making bets, they might think you're just trying to steal it because you have position, because you've seen what everyone's done, because everyone's checked to you. They're going to think, well, you're just putting in that bet because you've got position. But you do have to remember that the fact that they've checked already and they don't have anything means they still can't call you. So it's generally worth, I think, a bit of a bet in position. If everyone else has feigned a bit of weakness, then why not? Aggression is great. And this is true. And when I started playing, I really wasn't very aggressive at all. And I think so many people out there are the same. If you don't really have anything, it's so difficult to put chips in the middle because you don't want to waste them. You think someone's going to call me, someone's going to re-raise me, I'm going to lose all them chips. But when you start to do it, it makes a big difference because when it works, you feel great and you realise that it can work and you feel that you've read it correctly. And these are wonderful feelings, and you realise that it does work. And you do know where you are, because if you get re-raised, then you know somebody's being a bit trappy and a bit cheeky. But fair enough, good luck to them. You'll do the same when you're sitting there with a great hand. You'll check it and hope that someone in late position thinks you're weak and stick in a bet, and you take it. The free card is very important as well. I mean, it's difficult because I was talking, I think, with Tom about this the other day, and if you're sitting in late position and everybody has checked to you, fair enough if you've got position, you think it's okay because you think it's probably okay to make a bet because it looks like nobody's got anything. And so what do? Do you bet it and try and take it there and there because it all looks weak? Or do you give yourself a free card and actually try and give yourself a hand, give yourself something? I don't know the correct answer to that. So give yourself a free card, even if you do catch something, someone else might catch something better. You might have a king 10, they might have a king queen, which they just haven't raised yet. So position is paramount and will change the decision of the card you are playing with. But let's have a look what these guys are doing in position. Like Jeff has got an ace-5. How does he play this? If no one limps, which it doesn't look like they will because they haven't got anything, Jeffers will steal the blinds with this. And it's not really a proper steal because he does have a half-decent hand. Ace-5 suited. Got a lot of outs, a lot of things he could hit. So Kev puts it down. Jeffers decides not to play. Oh, I can't say anything, John, because I'm not going to give anything away. But he's still in. And his dad's still in, yeah. The governor's still there. Is he chatting? Because he doesn't chat that much, old Gov. He likes to concentrate.
No, he hasn't said much so far.
Come on, Dad, stop being so boring. Let me type in. Talk, Dad, say hello. Right. It's hilarious. As Hoik, ooh, okay, Hoik's all in with the ace-king. Skitsy with the pair as Jax has called, and and Hoik goes out with the ace-king. Hoik. Skitsy takes Hoik out of the competition with an ace-king, and how unfortunate because there was clubs. I don't know what the percentage is for him to hit an ace or a king. Well, I know it's something like 2 to 1. It's quite good that he's going to hit one of those two cards, but he doesn't, and the jacks hold up. Wow. Very unfortunate for Hoik. I'm sorry, Hoik, that you've gone. Brilliant for Skitsy. Quite ballsy to call with the jacks, because obviously Hoik's got something. So it was very likely he had queens or kings. But brilliant, Skitsy. Doubled up. Okay, it runs on ace jewels. Let's see what we will do this time. 2-7 for Jeffers there. So you're going to raise it up. Guessing most probably not. 9's shaky shark. I can predict a raise here from the nines. You might be thinking, wow, how could you possibly know that, Michelle? Well, look at that. I know what I'm talking about. Right. It's all very scary being by myself. Right, we're going to head over to another table, methinks, as Shaky Shark takes it down from his bet. But you know what? The blinds are 225 chips. They're well worth stealing. And as we all know, this is something you have to do in a multi-table tournament. At some point, you are going to have to try and steal them blinds. Okay, we've got a King 5 suited, an Ace Jack, and a pair of tens. Tens have raised it up by the looks of things. The others have come in. Maybe it was the Ace Jack that raised it. Brilliant flop for a pair of tens. Now, because there's been a raise pre-flop, Penalgo there's going to be thinking, okay, the types of people that are going to be calling me are aces, big aces, or higher pocket pairs. So when a flop like that comes down for Penalgo, he can sit there and think, right, well, no one's got 7-8 here. No one's called a raise with 7-8 or a 7-4. You know, it's highly unlikely someone's called a raise with a pair of fours. So the likelihood is, you know, they might do, but the likelihood is my tens are good. That's the type of flop Penalgo really wants to see with a pair of tens. He thinks he's good, he probably knows he's ahead, he makes the bet and he takes it down. But he does not slow play it. And that's because there's been a raise. People probably are sitting there with aces, things like ace-jack like there was. If he just checks it, slow playing it like people do with a pair of tens, he's just giving them a free go to hit their card. And it's really unadvisable, I think, at that point to do that. Because if an ace comes, or even a king or a queen, he's going to have to start to ask himself, right, okay, I've given him a free card, the overcard has come out, which is quite likely, you know, that can easily happen. Now I don't know where I am. Now I could easily be beat. And one of the others, obviously, the ace-jack, even if it didn't have ace-jack, could then re-raise, do all sorts of crazy things to pretend they have hit that particular card, and then the tens don't know where they are and might have to end up folding. So, good bet there, Penalgo, methinks. As the soil gets a pair of kings, but Crumble has a little pair of fours. Now, obviously, I was about to say he hasn't got position, so he could get into trouble, but he's not got many chips left, so he's all in anyway. And that's fair enough with a pair of fours. He saw his opportunity, had a hand. The soil could have easily had something like king, queen, or something that he would have called with, and the fours would have been ahead pre-flop. But we lose another one. Another one bites the dust. The tens come out again. Let's see how DVN plays them. Now, we've had a raise here, look. Quite tight. Obviously not being very tight at all. It's decided to try and bluff with a 7-4. Personally, I don't get this. He hits top pair, but again, a wonderful flop for a pair of tens. He doesn't have to worry about a flush draw. There's no flushes out there. He doesn't really, usually he wouldn't have to worry about the straight, but because we can see quite tight here doing all sorts of crazy things, it's quite, he could easily hit a straight. We can see 2, 3, 4, 5. No, that wouldn't help. And quite tight. Oh my God, has made a huge bet. What do the tens do here? DVN, you have to call this. It's a 7-4, but he doesn't know that. And he could easily be, oh my God, what did quite tight know there? What did he know there? John, are you seeing this out of the corner of your eye?
He wasn't quite tight, that's for sure.
Oh, that is so unfortunate. DVN, I feel the sorriest person in the world for you at the moment. Quite tight, what were you thinking? Are you psychic? Because to play with a 7-4 and then try to bluff with it, I mean, fair enough, you hit top pair, but come on. Poor old DVN called, rightly so, he was ahead, and quite tight, sneakily gets his second pair and he gets the 4, and guys, you know, don't be thinking that he knows something here, because it really isn't possible for him to know that a 7 and a 4 would come up on that board, even though it might seem a bit sus, because usually, obviously, you would never do that amount of bluffing with a 7-4, and you'd never even play with it. All I can think is that quite tight decided to go for those blinds with nothing. He didn't care what, it was irrelevant what his 2 cards were. He didn't care. He knew he was just going to try and take him down. He knew if he was called or re-raised, he was going to put it down. It didn't work. Someone called. He then hit top pair. He didn't think the other guy had anything, obviously. Made a huge re-raise. And got a little bit lucky with the 4. I feel so sorry for poor old DVN. I really do. That was unfortunate, but it happens sometimes. That is the way the cookie crumbles. Right, we've got ace-10 for Penalgo. He raises it up, rightly so. As we all know, ace-10 is a raising hand, not a calling hand. Look, I'll put hi dad into the chat and he's ignoring me. That's not very friendly, is it? I'm going to have words. Maybe he's got his chat off. He doesn't usually, though. I'm going to ring him in a minute. Tell him off. Right, where are we? We've got Queen 10 for quite tight. Is he going to go all in this time? No. Everyone else is trying to say hi to my dad and he's not ignoring everybody.
Oh, you've got it on there, okay.
I have. I'm keeping it out the corner of my eye.
Pretty tight table. Not much happening here.
Well, my dad will be a bit scared because he usually plays five-handed. So he's probably, he's going to have to change his game for the 10-hander table, the 8-hander table, because he usually plays on a five-hander. I think because he's on the telly and he knows it's going out on the telly, he's concentrating so much. He's probably not even reading the stuff that's going on. He's so adamant that he's going to have to do well because he's on the telly. That's oh, that's so funny. I'm on the wrong table.
You are on the wrong table.
I'm watching the wrong game, and I'm going, "Hi, Dad." Everyone must think I'm mental. That's hilarious.
Michelle, everyone knows you're mental.
Excellent. I must leave you to it. I can't believe I had the wrong table up there. But anyway, back to the game. Oh, Penalgo hits Queen. What table are you on? What's it called? Old Douglas. There we go. I'll click it up. That's so funny. Well, we're still on our multi-tournament as Dead Spiders is on the big blind with the ace-9, which quite tight's doing it again. Look at this, and it's going to work, is it? He doesn't need to be doing this with such a big stack. Dead Spiders, he's got him now. He knows what he's doing. He's read him well. He's re-raised. I think he's read him well there. And quite tight's had to put it down. Quite tight. I don't think you needed to do that then, to be honest. You've got a big stack there. You're the biggest stack on the table. Why are you wasting 450 chips so readily when you've just done it? Maybe you should have waited a bit longer. Just a quick hello to my dad. Oh, it didn't come out. How are you getting on, John?
Haven't had a lot to work with yet, Michelle, but I'm still
still hanging in.
About the same. I'm still about on par because nobody has been busted out yet. There's only one short stack, and it's an incredibly tight table, which is what tends to happen on these TV tables, in that everyone wants to get as much play on TV as they possibly can. Yeah, they are very tight. Did you hear about what I did the other week? Everyone had to go at me for being too tight, so I decided to play the loosest I've ever played in my life and bluff with nothing. And I ended up coming third. There you go. Right, but we'll leave you to it. We've got our exciting multi-table tournament going on. We've got an ace-queen, an ace-4 and an ace-5, which isn't actually good news for John Boy Revel because it means that he won't actually, it's unlikely that he'll hit his ace. Now he doesn't know what the others have got. The ace-4 has gone for a raise. Unfortunate for him, obviously John Boy Revel sitting with ace-queen. Just to defy what I say, the ace actually does come. Which was unlikely because there was 3 aces in the holes. But they've both hit their ace. The rag ace has gone all in, and this is why you shouldn't play with rag aces. It's been said many times. And you've got out. You shouldn't be playing with a rag ace. Because you're going to hit your ace and you're going to get into trouble. $100, $200 now for the blinds. King 10 suited. What do I do here? Maybe go for a steal. You've only got one more person. You've only got one more to your left before the blinds. I bet they would have taken it, but... And he could afford it with 7,000.
But it's fair enough not to want to get involved as well. But I mean, generally you do steal the blinds from the dealer button. But then saying that, sometimes if you're sitting one before the dealer button, your blind steal might actually look a bit more authentic, like you've actually got a hand.
Mm-hmm.
Ace Jack this time for Graham. What's quite tight going to do with 3-4 suited? As we know, he's not very tight at all. He's called 2, 3, 4. He's got a gut shot. Just needs a 5. Will he play for it? No. Quite tight. Is deceiving. Well, as we know, he's not actually quite tight at all. But now he's got queens. And poor old John Boy's got 9s. And this is going to be very interesting because they're the 2 high stacks at the table. Each one is thinking, this guy I don't want to be involved with. Anyone else, but this one guy can take me out. And that might change John Boy Rebel's decision here a bit. Does he want to get involved with quite tight? Who's the only one that can really do him damage, probably even take him out the tournament? So this is a horrible decision for John Boy. Personally, I wouldn't play it. I would think, yeah, he's done the same.
It's no decision at all, Michelle. He's got a very comfortable fold there.
Yeah.
He's either up against 2 overcards or he's up against a bigger pair. And he perfectly correctly lays it down.
Excellent. The right thing to do as we head over to one of our other multi-table tournaments. Now we have the chip leader on this table, Balrog. And guys, you're going to have to, you know, just not text in and tell me that I'm wrong because I'm on my own while John's playing. I might spout a load of rubbish, but it's all a learning curve for all of us. As Balrog gets the Ace-King suited, which is always very nice. He's made standard 4 times big blind raise. Can't see Santa's calling here. He's got Jack 8, which is rubbish. Get rid of it. He's having a little think. He doesn't want to give up his big blind, but he doesn't have any choice. Why play with a rubbish hand when you can wait for a better opportunity? Posh Boy only with 500 chips there. He's got some work to do. He's looking for a hand to push all in with. Now that seems a bit excessive, but then again, I suppose not. If you're going to put in a raise, say of 600, 800, when you've only got 1700, if someone comes over the top of you, are you pot committed anyway? So you may as well just push it all in to start with and make it look even scarier for anyone thinking of calling. King 10 feeds Ace 10. Super Grand very much behind here, but no one's hit anything, so a bet will take it probably.
Horwick's just been busted from this table as well.
Has he? Oh, poor old Hoik balls. It's not your night tonight, is it? I had one of those nights the other day. Ooh, look at this. Oh! Okay, very, very odd there. Chaminade made the bet with the Ace-10, didn't have anything. Superground made a huge re-raise with King-10, a big underdog. Superground's made a big re-raise. This was on the flop, so we're on the flop. Chaminade's made a bet of 600. Superground's re-raised him to about 1200, I can't remember exactly. No, no, he put Chaminade all in, basically. He's re-raised, put Chaminade all in. And Chaminade called. So Chaminade must have read that, because I can't believe... He's thinking, all right, I've got 2 overcards, I could hit any one of these. Maybe Superground's just trying to push me off. He's called it for whatever reason in his head. And either he knew where he was and he figured it was a bit of a bluffy re-raise from Superground, or he just thought he was too committed and he was hoping to win the hand. He was ahead, so the decision was indeed the correct one. And look, he's got over 4,500 chips. That's how quickly it can change. Doubled up there, nicely. Now, Posh Boy, you've left it a bit long to go all in, haven't you? You should have been all in a while ago, I think. And you're folding. Posh, what are you doing? We were talking, me and John were talking about this earlier, Posh, and we said, once you've only got double the big blind left in your stack, whatever you've got, whatever 2 cards you've got, you should be all in. You've got one big blind left now. That's not much, but people can come back from this. I have seen worse. Why are you folding a king queen? He's not there. Posh isn't there, I don't think, because there's no way he'd fold a king queen there. So he's not there. That's all I can assume. He's a good player. He's not there. Right, we've got flush draw for Jamati. And 19 Jack King gut shot for Cheminade. So they're both on draws. A check in to get the free cards to get their draws. Nobody gets it. So I bet will take it, but I could see it getting checked out here. Cheminade, are you going to go for a bet? No. No, checked out. Right, not much going on here. I can see it being checkered out here unless Cheminade does something crazy. Yep, 400 is trying to steal it, and it worked. Well done, Cheminade. Okay, we'll leave it. I can hear you screaming at me for a cash game. Fair enough. Here we are, 25 cent, 50 cent. We're there, through the matrix, to a cash game. Okay, the difference. Well, how is this different from a multi-table tournament? Well, multi-table tournament is a tournament. Therefore, there's a beginning and an end. You pay a certain amount of money, let's say $10. You all pay $10. You all get given 1,500 chips or whatever it may be. It's a to the death competition. And once you're out, you're out.
I'm in a bit of trouble here.
Oh, it's John's.
I've got to call this. I have to call this. But I think I'm losing.
As John maybe
yeah,
losing.
ace 9 against ace 10. What a devil's hand.
Oh dear. Oh look, you've still got some chips.
Yeah,
so you
great,
can come back from that.
Horrible.
So the tournament has a beginning and an end, and once you're out, you're out. Once you're busted out, once your chips have gone, you can't come back into that particular game. On a cash game, it's slightly different. You're sitting down with your actual amount of dollars. So for instance, Lucy Goosey is sitting there with $55.45. Now, basically, you go and find a cash game you want to sit in. It asks you how much money you want to sit down with. You can sit down with a minimum of 10 times the big blind, which in this case would be $5, and a maximum of 100 times the big blind, which in this case would be $50. Generally, people tend to sit down for the maximum. Now, with the cash games, the blinds always stay the same. So the blinds are always going to be 25 cent, 50 cent, and you can come and go as you please. Now, of course, you can't sit there and just before the blinds come out of the game and just after the blinds come into the game, the site will stop you from doing that. But whenever you've had enough, you can just leave. And you can leave and go and play in another game. You just pick a table and you sit down if there's a space. It's as simple as that. And like I said, the blinds don't go up. And once you're out, if you lose all your chips, if you end up all in and you lose all your chips, the site will give you an option to sit down again and rebuy for more chips, which you can do. You may find that you need a different playing technique for a cash game to a tournament because they are different structures. I think with the cash game you are playing more of an odds game, am I right to say that, John?
You're seeing more flops. I'm back with you now, folks, because I've just been busted out of the beat up the presenter table. Which is exactly what happened. And we can analyse that one later.
Yes, we will. At 12 o'clock. It'll be very interesting to watch. Dad's still in.
Your dad is going fine. They're down to the last 5 players. He's slightly below par, but he's not bottom stacked. And he's going fine. But we'll come back to that at 12 o'clock and look at that table. For the moment, let's get stuck into the
cash game.
Cash game that we're on here.
We were on the multi-table tournament for a while, and I spouted some poker stuff that may or may not have been right.
Well, it was very useful to me playing on that table, Michelle.
Poor old hoik balls. And poor old DVD is the one I felt most sorry for. Where the old 7-4 bluff became a 2-pair.
This could develop into quite a hand because you've got the ace-king suited up against queen-queen, who will probably re-raise this, not realising that there are 2 aces out there already, reducing the chance of him being able to hit the flop. And the queen-queen is a pretty good favourite against ace-king suited here. Wouldn't at all surprise me if he re-raises. No, he just flat calls. Queen, queen now. Must think he's ahead. Only an ace or a king or running hearts. It's not going to be running hearts, so only an ace or a king. I don't know why the queens didn't bet that. He should come out betting now. Ace-king suited has shown weakness twice. And the ace-king should throw it away here. But he calls, doesn't hit one of his outs, which, as we know, were only 4 outs he had there. Didn't hit one of them. Has decided not to try and bluff at it. And whatever happens now, unless there's a re-raise from Skinley and a lay down by Daddy Kid, which there isn't going to be, I should imagine. Sorry, Kiddy Kid, not Daddy Kid, Kiddy Kid picks up a perfectly pleasant pot.
Just asking my dad to lower my rent, as I got him on telly. Oh, Hoytball says that he just won $100 in a heads-up game. That's not all gone bad tonight.
Okay. I don't even know how much it was to enter that big multi-table tournament. Was that a free roll, or was that a...
I think it might have been a free roll, actually. We'll find out.
Okay.
So what do you play at home, John? Do you like cash games or do you like tournaments?
I like sit-and-go tournaments.
Yep.
And I play... I've actually given it a rest just recently, but I had a spell a couple of months ago where I think I played several hundred, fairly hefty sit-and-go tournaments. And I like sit-and-go tournaments because there's a beginning, a middle, and an end.
Yes.
You get the chance for
I agree.
The shifting sands of your strategies to come into play as the number of people at the table reduce. Very, very different game with 3 people compared to 8 or 10 people. Very different game, 6 people compared to 10 people. Technically, 6 people is short-handed. Sorry to interrupt you there, but the pool 8 ball has picked up trip 7s here. And
Flush,
if he
draw.
slow plays it and Rabo hits the flush, pool 8 ball is going to regret this slow play. Finally puts a bet in. He'll probably get called here on the implied odds principle. He does get called. He hits the spade, and he's going to get paid for this. He's going to put it all in, I should think. He's got to assume he's winning here.
That's a bit unfortunate for old pool 8 ball there.
What is he doing? He's thinking about the hands that beat him. He thinks he loses to a house or an ace flush. He's quite right, but the odds against his opponent having that is very small.
Well,
he puts
luckily
in a tiny bet. There's a sucker bet on the end, and he gets paid. But I think he would have got paid for the whole lot, and at that stage he should have stuck.
Well, I was about to say, luckily for pool 8 ball, he can only actually lose $12, because I assumed Rabo would probably push it all in.
But pool 8 ball got burnt for slow playing the trip 7s. He didn't see the flush danger on the flop quite correctly, as it was a rainbow flop. But after the spade comes down, he really should have pushed a little bit more in there. Although Rabo looked as though Rabo was in the mood to call and called his spade. So the only way pool 8 ball would have won the hand would have been if he'd come out firing on the flop, which in my view would have been an overplay. Just an unlucky hand. So what's going on here, Michelle?
Well, not much really. We've got 6, 7, 9, 10. Oh, I was about to say a gut shot, but he gets it. He gets the gut shot.
On the straight, and he's got position, and somebody might well take a pop at this now. There's been an awful lot of weakness shown at this table, but I'm afraid Rabo's now going to bet, and they're both going to throw it away. Had anybody bet before this, they would have taken the pot down. Well worth remembering that on these cash tables. If you're on the button, it's checked around to you. Whatever you've got, there's no harm in sticking a little raise in. See what happens. Most of the time you'll take the pot down. If you get re-raised and you have got absolute rags, you can throw it away. But probably more than half the time you're going to take the pot there and then. Skinley with a
Nice ace king there.
standard raise with ace king in early position. Just takes the blinds.
much, I mean, in tournaments, it's stealing the blinds, as we call it, is something that you do. Do you ever need to do it in a cash game?
Sure.
Yeah?
I mean, Mickey Ball is doing it right now. He's got ace-8 suited. He's put in a raise of just twice the big blind, and it's enough to take the blinds down. I mean, that's far better than flat calling, seeing the flop, probably missing it, and then having to wonder what to do when somebody starts betting at you. I mean, the raise off the dealer button or one off the dealer button in a pot that hasn't been called yet, excuse me, in a hand that hasn't been called yet, is almost a standard move, almost whatever two cards you have. I must admit I didn't observe that on the beat up the presenter table. But then somehow when you're playing on the TV and you're the presenter, you feel slightly different. You don't actually want to be busted out too early and be humiliated.
Yeah, but sometimes the cards just don't go your way. And like you say, it's not just one game. You can't. One tournament game doesn't say anything about whether you're a winning player or not, does it, in the long run? It's very much a long run game, poker.
No, I think you've got to play, let's say, 100 sit and goes, and you'll soon decide from the results whether you're a winning player or a losing player, or whether your strategies are working or not. But, obviously one table means nothing, 10 tables means nothing. Start to get to 100 tournaments and you start to get a realistic percentage of whether you're a winning or a losing player. If you're playing tables of 10 and they're paying the first 3, obviously you're trying to cash more than 30% of the time. Okay, if you can do that, then you will probably be a winning player. If you can cash 40% of the time, that's tremendous. These are at tables of 10. Of course, we're looking at tables of 8 now. You can apply the same percentages to them, although they'll be slightly higher. At a table of 8, you're going to be looking to be cashing about 35% of the time to break even, somewhere around there. Anything above that, then you're making money. On at tables of 8, if you're cashing 45 to 50% of the time, chances are you're a world-class player. Because it's not easy.
Okay.
It's not easy. Cash tables obviously different, completely different philosophy, and that's what we're looking at the moment. Is a small 25 and 50 cash table. Nobody really is going to have a life-changing experience here, assuming they're all living in the Western world. Go to some places in the world and $150 held by pool 8 ball there is a fortune.
Yes, you're right, it is. And when you're playing poker, it's very much relevant to what you have. But if you're sitting in a game that... You have to sit in a game that's comfortable to you, don't you? Because if you're sitting in a game that you can't afford to be sitting in, you're not going to play comfortably.
Quite right, Michelle. If you're under pressure because of your bankroll, then you're in the wrong game and you need to move down a level. A lot of these players are presumably playing recreationally. They're probably not there for the money. A 25, 50 cash table, that's 25 and 50 cents. Of course, there are 25 and $50 cash tables that we've
which
covered.
I haven't quite got to yet, I have to say.
Okay, but we've covered them on Poker Night Live before now. I remember seeing one of my most exciting hands ever when Ace-Ace raised pre-flop and got called by Ace-King on the big blind. The flop came down Ace-King rag, and the Ace-King obviously finds it very difficult to realise that he's drawing dead, except to running kings, which is about 1 in 1,000, and lost $5,000 on that hand before our very eyes, live here on Poker Night Live. And that's the sort of thing, as we spoke earlier, that can happen in poker. Now, is Mickey 8 ball going to slow play? My God, he's hit a house of kings now, and he has the absolute nuts. He cannot be beaten unless somebody else was playing a king with a higher kicker and it came on the river. But as the cards lie, he can't be beaten, but he's not going to get paid on this. Sorry, Michelle, just pick me up. Where were we? I just wanted to look at that because he hit a house of kings on the turn.
Well, my dad's just gone out.
It has just gone out. Oh dear.
But where did he go out? Was he in the money? Was he not? You'll have to tune in at 12 to see.
So you don't want me to tell them just?
It's going to be an interesting game to watch, methinks.
Okay. Well.
Right, well, Loosey Goosey with a 5-7 is making a little bet. He gets re-raised by the 10.
I should think she does. Not quite sure why she was betting that. She'd be the wrong end of the straight anyway, even if she did hit it. But people do strange things on cash tables. Certainly the quality of the hand that you have on a cash table tends to be lower for your initial call than on a sit and go. I think that's something to do with the fact that you've got a limited stack on a sit and go, but if you lose all your money on a cash table, you can just bring up some more money and carry on playing with the same players, having presumably digested some of their table images, which you can use to your own advantage later.
Eyes to be gold. That's quite a nice weird little name there. The thing I find with cash games is because I play in a 10 cent or 15 cent, 25 cent, I find that I can sit there for 4 hours and make like $2. And I come out thinking, oh, I've played for so long, I haven't got anything.
We're going to get action here, Michelle. We've got King-King up against Ace-King suited. And only the flop will decide this, although the King-King is miles ahead at the moment. He's obviously going to raise, I should think. I wouldn't criticise him for flat calling this, but he does raise 3 times the blind. He might well get re-raised from the Ace-King suited here. Ace-King suited, as good looking as it is, it's still only a drawing hand. And now Mickey, he may well re-raise again, which would give the Ace-King something to think about, certainly.
Ace doesn't come?
He doesn't. The ace isn't there. Only running spades or an ace now. He comes out firing. He assumes that Mickey hasn't got a jack or a 9 or a pocket pair. And well played, Mickey. He's having none of it. He thinks he's ahead. He's not scared of a 9. And Bethelot was effectively bluffing and lays it down. Well played, Mickey.
Yeah, he wasn't scared of the 9, and was that because there'd been such a big re-raise pre-flop? He thought, well, what is he doing that with? Probably not with 9s or ace-9 or anything like that.
You've got to assume he hasn't got a 9. If you've got King-King and he's flop trip 9s, you're not going to get off the hand anyway. You may as well get your chips in first. Right.
Not much going on, but the little bet.
The Ace-Queen,
enough.
who almost had a hand that could only win if an 8 came on the flop, has the courage to bet it and takes it down.
Well, we'll bet the lot. Indeed, bet the lot with an ace-7.
Ace-7, a typical blind steal. Perfectly reasonable hand, ace-7 for a blind steal. You'd probably start as a favourite against the blinds with ace-7.
Yep.
But in early position, you might well throw ace-7 away.
Okay.
It's a well-known sucker hand. That, what do you want the flop to come? It's only really good for stealing the blinds off the dealer button.
Okay. Nice little point.
And you certainly throw it away to a re-raise.
Okay, we've had a bet from the ace-queen. Good re-raise from bet the lot. Oof, full house.
Well, pool 8 ball still has 6 outs, but I don't think he's going to call this for 6 outs. In fact, he shouldn't call this for 6 outs.
Well, he's been doing something right because he's got he's managed to double up. Well, he's both, so he's got 3 times the buy-in. So he's doing very well.
He's been heavily stacked for a while. In fact, he had a lot more than that about 10 minutes ago. One thing to notice at a cash table that's outstandingly obvious at this table is that pool 8 ball is sitting there with 3 times as many chips as anyone else, and the only way that he could have got them is by winning them, because the maximum amount he could bring up is $50. I think.
Yes, it is 100 times the big blind on these tables.
Right. So it's the only way that anybody can be sitting there with $144. If you happen to join a table and see someone like that, you know that certainly this evening anyway, they have been a winning player.
Pair of queens there for Skinley. But we're gonna leave it there. Because we've got a couple of emails here. I think the queens are going to take that down anyway. And we've got an email here from Scotty. He says, Michelle, Peterborough is that posh support. So you're gonna have him spitting bullets. So I'm assuming that means the Peterborough is the one.
We didn't know.
Posh boy, we didn't know. That's why we were asking. Thank you, Scotty, for letting us know. We've got an email here from Josh. Good evening, Josh. It says, hi guys, just a thought. I'd email with what I think is an amusing story. I was down to the final four of a $35 multi-table tournament and I needed a drink. So I waited till I was first to act and folded rubbish thinking a pot would build and I would be back in time for the next hand. Everyone folded and in the next hand I was dealt kings. I didn't get back in time and had the kings folded. I was feeling really bad before everyone moved all in with ace, queen, jack, jack and 10-10. An ace came and one player knocked the other two out. The player with the ace was chip leader, so I would have been out. I felt so good that the kings got folded and I finally finished first. Wow, that was fate.
Well, he was up against ace-queen. It's not to say that the ace-queen would have called you, Josh, had you been there to move all in with your king-king, which would have been a perfectly reasonable move. But had he called you, yes, you would have lost everything. And that was an extremely fortunate time for you to be away from the table. I've also seen people get disconnected on a hand where they are doomed to lose. And this goes down as a lucky disconnect, especially when it's a hand where it looks as though they are winning.
Oh, there you go. The poke of gods are sometimes with you. We have an email from Orpe. She says, hi guys, just a note to give your previous viewers some confidence about all-ins. I had the same thing happen to me today, except I had bullets to the other player's mediocre hand. He had previously been overcalling bets with excessive raises. He was on the big blind and went all in with around $6. I called and hey presto, I won. And yes, I agree, it's a no-brainer. And that was calling these people that come in and just go all in all the time. So well done for taking him out there.
But is it a she, did you say?
Doesn't say.
You weren't sure. Okay, well, the player, had pocket rockets, yes?
Yes.
Okay, and she...
No, he or she had the bullets and called the all-inner.
Well,
who went all in with a mediocre hand and took him out.
If you don't call with rockets, when are you going to call?
But no, it's a good story, thank you, because we like to take out these people that turn up and just keep going all in with anything, with short stacks.
Nice to have the rockets to fight somebody like that with.
We have an email here from Albus Forks. It says, hi Michelle and John, didn't last long in the semi, but never mind. I want to see if you can guess my opponent's cards. This was a cash game I was playing last week on a $2-4 table. It was about 1 AM and I decided to call it tonight when my blinds come round again. I was in seat 2 relative to the blinds and had ace-jack suited. Seat 1 limped in with $4 and I raised to $16. All folded to the limper who called my raise. The flop was Jack 10-5 rainbow. The limper bets $4 and I raise to $40 pot size. Limper calls, turned Jack. All cards offsuit. Limper bets $70. I raise all in for $400 and he calls for his $191. He shows, and the result, he shows an ace-2 offsuit. River 2 irrelevant. I'd like your comments on what he thought I had.
Yes, well, you were clearly playing with a maniac there, Albus. He has no business calling that. From the looks of the way the hand went, I don't think you raised all in for 400 and he called for 191. So somehow he felt he was pot committed. It's nonsense, and he had no business calling that.
Maybe he was drunk. He did have nothing after all. And to be honest, do we care what he thought you had? You won a huge pot to his huge mistake. Thank you for your email, Albus Fawkes. I'm sorry about your semi-final, but hopefully there'll be opportunities again in the future for that. I am extremely excited about coming back after the break and watching John and my dad, the governor, playing in Beat the Presenter. Where did they come? Please join me for that one because it's going to be absolutely hilarious and I really can't wait. So don't go anywhere, enjoy the poker news, and John and I will see you very shortly. Good morning and welcome back to Poker Night Live with myself, Michelle, and I'm joined tonight by one of our resident experts, that's John Clark. Welcome back, John.
Hi, Michelle.
Well, before the break, John did indeed play in a Beat to the Presenter, along with the governor, who is my dad. So I think with no further ado, let's go straight there. I can't wait. Come on.
Do we really have to do this, Michelle?
Yes, we do, John.
I'm not going to enjoy this.
Look, well, he's right. Okay, look, John's Barry Bully because you've taken over Barry's, and look, Poker's own M. It's my dad calling a raise with Ace 9. Wonderful. Bear in mind, Dad, who's Poker's own M, obviously, he is usually a 5-seater table player. So his hands that he usually plays with will be different to an 8-seat table, won't it?
Yes, it will. If he's playing 5-seat tables, then he's playing permanently short-handed, to use the correct technical term. And he did well to get off that. He didn't hit the flop, and he got off it as cheaply as he could. I don't mind the call when the blinds are that small with Ace 9. He's not to know that he's losing at that stage.
Another one with the rag ace there, Dad. Get in there with the rag ace.
Now, I called here because of my position.
Yep.
It was cheap to call. I've hit middle pair on the flop, and I come out with a small bet.
Yep. Big blind.
And Howick re-raises me, which is a complete bluff. Quite a clever move from Howick. And although I'm miles ahead here, because a 9 won't play for Howick, he's on a 3-outer in fact, I lay it down. I feel that I'm probably beaten, especially with Howick betting like that, with Poker's own M to act above him, and I throw it away. Sometimes you have to throw away a winning hand or a potentially winning hand.
With the information that you give him.
With the information that you give him. Well played, Howick. He bluffed me off a hand that I was winning on. And he took great delight in showing those cards
did he?
At the time.
You cheeky cheeser, Hoik.
But I haven't.
Can you believe it?
He's represented a jack, and if I'm up against a jack, you know, I'm so far behind, I chose to lay it down. I've only invested a total of 40, I think, in that pot.
That's what TMH there. He did that to me when he ridiculously bluffed me off a hand. And he showed them.
My goodness me. Hammerhead with a huge raise with the Queen-Queen, surprisingly called by the Ace-3 suited, who's flopped what is virtually the nut flush, only losing to a running flush. Now, he wouldn't like that 10 because he loses to a house as well, but he's still got to assume that he's well ahead here. But of course,
250 bet. I mean, the queens, I suppose, are very wide. Is very wide about that flush, but it's so very difficult when he's got.
Well, the queens have got to be worried, but a 10 comes on the river to give Hammerhead a house, and that's incredible. This is. I did wonder how H2O Stephen ended up with a short stack early on.
Wow.
And this is how Hammerhead, I think, puts about half of it in now. And H2O Stephen, unfortunately, has to call.
Wow.
Very, very unlucky hand for H2O Stephen.
Although, is it a little bit of a lesson? Because should he really have been in there with Ace-3 to a raise anyway?
No, he shouldn't. He should throw the Ace-3 suited away. But having flopped what was virtually the nut flush, you would expect him, under normal circumstances, to win the pot. It was only runner-runner that played for Hammerhead. And I should think H2O Stephen is pretty sick about that, and Hammerhead at this moment is probably realising what a great stroke of luck he had there.
Well, Hoik being quite aggressive here. 8-9 this time. Gets a gut shot.
And of course I've missed the flop completely. So I check. Hoik comes out betting on the strength of my weakness. And once again I'm ahead. And once again I throw it away. Although Hoik actually...
Second time he's done that to you, John.
Well, technically Hoik had an open-ended straight because he can hit either end of it. It wasn't just a gut shot. It was effectively he's got 8 outs twice. So
are you getting maybe a little bit annoyed with Hoik at this point?
No, not at all.
But what didn't he raise? Didn't Hoik raise before that? Was there a raise?
No, I don't think he did. I don't think he did.
I must have missed that.
But for the first 15 minutes or so, this was an incredibly tight table, actually, as we've seen before on the televised tables.
Very much so, very much so.
Everybody wants to get as much time on the televised table as possible.
Which is how I was hoping it might suit my dad that it's very tight, because he's obviously will be a lot looser because he's usually plays short-handed. He'll have, I mean, just to explain that as well, when you're playing on a shorter table, the value of hands that you choose to play with is lowered, isn't it?
Yes, of course it is. I mean, if you pick up A7, let's say, at a table of 10, you're certainly going to be throwing it away in early position. But if you pick it up even in mid position on a table of 5, you've got what is likely to be it is a well above average hand, and may well turn into a winning hand if no one has an ace out there or a pocket pair.
Something to remember if you're choosing to play on different sized tables, and it will happen obviously in your poker lifespan, and vice versa. If you're used to playing 10-handed or 8-handed and you play in a short-handed game, you have to remember to lower your values.
Okay, the king-queen suited picks up top pair, and Hoik is going to be in a little bit of trouble here because he's also hit top pair, but he's out-kicked by Hammerhead. The relevance of the kicker, of course, is very significant. Puck Bluffer lives up to his name and sticks a raise in with less than top pair. And Hoik must really be wondering what's going on here. Is he really ahead? No, he gets off it. A brilliant laydown from Hoik. Almost a psychic laydown there.
My dad gets rid of the raggy ace there, which he was in with.
And the nines must know now that he's behind. Hammerhead certainly representing the queen, which is enough for Puck Bluffer to lay it down.
But with a better ace this time for Daddy Dearest, and we've got a 2-7 suited for Barry Billy, who's actually, of course, Mr. John Clark.
And this looks like it could develop into a battle of the ace-tens. And Hammerhead could not be blamed for laying this down. But he calls. I'm not interested in 7-2 suited, despite the fact that I would have flopped a flush. But of course I would have lost to Poker Zone M to a higher flush had another club had come down.
Mr. Orpe won't be laying this ace-10 down with his flush as well, I can tell you that much.
Well, your father is actually ahead at this stage because of course he's got the flush draw and indeed a royal flush draw.
As Hammerhead chooses not to bet his ace. Oh.
And Hammerhead hasn't got a club, and I think he probably throws it away at this stage, despite the fact that he's favourite to get a split pot there.
Well done, Dad.
Not always a good idea to call just in the hope of a split pot.
Yeah. You're getting a load of rubbish. 9-7.
I always get a load of rubbish, Michelle. You'll see later, I decided to put in a raise. The only hand I won on this early on was when I raised with 7-8 suited and everybody folded. That's
wonderful.
That's coming up in a minute.
Well,
I think I called this actually. if I remember rightly.
Really? What's your thinking there? Because even though you've got 10 in, you're in worse position.
Well, because the blinds are very low, and I feel that I need to see some flops. I'm hoping that my post-flop play will justify that.
So it's okay to play with these hands, though, because usually you'd look at something like a 9-7 and think it's that terrible that it's not even worth wasting any chips with.
Not at all. I've always been a proponent of trying to see a number of flops. I've decided not to come out betting there. I've hit bottom pair, a gut shot flush draw. However, he's raised pre-flop, very small raise pre-flop, which is why I called it. And
I mean, what are you hoping to get there? Something like 2 pair, or maybe
well, with 9-7, you can still flop a straight. You can still flop 2 pair, or trips, or quads for that matter.
That would be nice. Three nines turned up.
But it only cost me 40 to play that hand.
So why the blinds are low and it's not costing you much, you should be playing with a variety of different hands. And
well, yes, I mean, I've always said you can't sit there waiting for just a premium hand and only play ace, ace, king, king, or ace, ace, king, or ace, queen, or queen, queen, or something like that. Sometimes you have to play any 2 cards based on your position, the relative chip stacks at the table, and what you know about other people. Also, when you call and play a pot, you learn things about other people. So sometimes you'll make a call when you're, you know you're losing, but it's cheap and you want information.
As you get the aces.
So I just raised twice the big blind here. I get a call from king, queen. The ace-9 throws it away, I think, quite correctly. It's just a raggy rainbow flop. Now, do you think I should bet this, Michelle, quickly?
I generally do.
Yes, I think I should bet this.
Because you're just going to give them a free card and might give them something extra.
Well, there's a straight draw there, potentially, not for Howick as it happens. And I come out firing about the size of the pot. He thinks for quite a while and then throws it away.
Yeah, a lot of people like to slow play there, but I think... Well, the pot's okay. If you give them a free card, that is exactly what you're giving them, a free card to hit something that could potentially beat you in the end.
Yeah, if there wasn't a potential straight on the board, I mean, the flop has come down 6, 7, 10. I mean, there's a potential made straight, but I mean, if he's got any 8 or any 9, he's on a gut shot. And, well, according to my experience, if you slow play in that sort of a hand, in that sort of a position, so often they seem to catch the card that they need, or that they've hit bottom pair or something, and then on the turn they hit trips or second pair, and suddenly your aces are dead.
Will you take it down there with the ace-10?
I think it was just folded round to me, wasn't it?
Oh, you put in a raise.
Now this is an interesting hand. What do you do here, Michelle? I've got ace-8 suited in early
I'd
position.
probably limp.
I just decided to limp.
See if you can get a look at a flop.
I limp.
See some clubs.
I limp incidentally with the intention to throw it away to a raise.
Okay.
The pair of 5s puts a fairly chunky raise in off the dealer button. Puck bluffer decides to go all in. I know my ace-8 is no good at that stage, and I get out of the way.
But it's good there that you know what you're going to do.
But notice that TEMH laid down his pair of 5s.
To the all-in bet.
To the all-in bet, despite the fact that he was actually a small favourite against the ace-king.
And now you have the 5s.
This is why ace-king is such a tremendous hand to re-raise with, because almost whatever they're holding, unless it's king-king or ace-ace, you're somewhere around even money, but when you put the chips in, you're better than even money because you give them the opportunity to fold. But on this occasion, TEMH must have been concerned that he was up against a higher pair. He doesn't want to get busted out that easily. Now I had a problem here with 5-5. I thought about this for a long time. Again, a small pair, and I've laid it down. Pretty good laydown, if I may say so, because I would have been up against.
Sort of nines.
I would have been up against 9-9, but I'm in the squeeze there, and I still don't know what. What is that player's name?
Ulartwick.
Ulartwick. Right. Ulartwick. Twick.
O-U-L-A-R-T, Oulart.
Ular,
Whatever that may be.
Ular Twick, perhaps?
Could be Oulart Twick, or it could be Oul.
Anyway, there's a small raise, small raise off the button here, and I decided to call this. I've easily got the pot odds to call that.
Oh, Dad's called with the banning.
And I'm not particularly comfortable with that flop. Of course, I'm not to know that running diamonds will lose me all my chips.
Ooh, Dad's 7.
Your father picks up bottom pair, and I think he makes a pretty good. He comes out betting 40. Now,
it's a bit.
I think the king 3 lays it down, and I think about calling this for my gut shot.
Oh right.
The king is calling for his gut shot, and I think about calling for my gut shot, and I decide not to because I'm going to be hitting the wrong end of the straight.
Are you getting odds to?
Yes, I've got the.
Okay.
In some ways, I've got the odds to call, and in some ways not, because when the 8 does come, which of course
still might not be ahead.
Which of course it does
It
come.
does.
I might not be ahead. If it's the 8 of hearts, I might be losing to a flush, and I'm losing to any queen. So what if that comes? What am I going to do if somebody puts a huge bet in? I'm going to have to call, and I may well be losing.
You still might not be winning.
And I still don't know whether Puck Bluffer at that stage has not got King Queen, which is a perfectly feasible hand to have.
Jammy Governor's getting 2 pair with the banning.
Yeah. As it went, your father would have hit 2 pair.
And you would have got all his chips.
I would have hit my straight, and I would have got paid at the end of it. So
that would have been hilarious.
Probably
I wouldn't, because that's my money he's playing with. But
probably my mistake not to call in the first place because your father had made it so cheap.
Yes, very cheap. That was a bit of a weaky, cheapy bet there, Dad. Don't know what you're quite thinking. Well, look at you big cheeser hitting your ace.
Well, he's looking good here because he's got ace-king and he's hit his ace and he's up against a hand that might pay him, although probably the ace on the flop is going to...
It's just gone all in.
Well, I think that's a huge overbet from your father, and Puck now knows that he's going to lay it down, I assume. I don't remember this hand, but with the ace on the board, I think that's going to save Puck.
Maybe he got a bit confused with the slider. Maybe it slipped. Maybe you just wanted to take it down there and then. But it seemed a bit excessive.
Bit of an overbet there, Peter. You might well have sucked him in there with a 300 or something like that.
We'll have to
and
ask
then
him.
You do that. Perhaps, well, he may well have done that because there were 2 suited cards on the board.
And ace 2-3, although no one's really going to be there with a 4-5, are they?
And of course, Puck would still have 2 queens as an out.
Oh, you second, Dad. Come on, win me some money, please.
Howick gets re-raised, but...
Oh, we've got a draw.
He's got his flush draw. Probably, yeah, he comes out betting heavy on his flush draw. Nice move from Howick. And the
so he's bet the pot there.
The ace-jack obviously can't call here, despite the fact that he's just about ahead at the moment.
Takes it down.
Again, still 8 players left in this tournament. It's been going a while. Blinds are up to 20 and 40.
You've got another rubbish hand.
I get my usual 5 deuce off, and
Oulart gets the ace 10.
And puts in a chunky raise and presumably takes H2O Stevens blind. I think it's a long time before folding this. He's probably thinking about the fact that he's short stacked and at some stage he's going to have to stick it all in.
Yes, not very much there, is there?
He's that short stacked. He needs a double through. He decided that that wasn't the hand to try it on. I got another 5 and a 7. I throw it away, despite the fact that it was suited. Let's not forget that suited cards, which people tend to play all the time, are only about 1 and maximum 3% better than unsuited cards.
Yeah, bear in mind it's 118 to 1 to flop your flush. Gives you a little bit of an idea how often it's not going to happen.
That's assuming you're holding 2 suited cards.
Jack 10 for
Talking of
Mr.
2 suited,
Clark.
now this was the best hand I'd seen in about...
For a while, so did you start getting a bit excited?
Of course I did. I put in a raise with this.
Would you usually with a Jack 10 suited in that position, or was it just because you had so much rubbish that you thought...
No, I don't base my strategy on that. I think it gives you a double option post-flop if you raise from mid-position with Jack 10 suited. Okay. I don't like limping with it. I only put a small raise in, and that's enough to see off Ace 4, and in fact 2 hands that were beating me at the time, and I was absolutely delighted to pick up 60 chips.
Dad had a little bit of a think there with his 5 too. Joke, Dad.
Jack 10 suited, by the way, is one of the very few hands where you can flop the unbeatable nuts.
Yes, I've heard this.
If you flop a straight, any straight, you've got the nuts at that time. You can be beaten later on.
Yeah.
But if you happen to flop a running flush, it cannot be beaten, whatever cards come next. You have a think. You have a think about that, but I promise you it's true.
What about if a flop comes 7, 8, 9?
Yes, you've got the top end of the straight.
Oh yeah, of course. What if it comes Ace, Queen? Oh yeah, of course. Yeah, you've still got the highest.
Whatever it comes, if you flop a running flush playing Jack 10 suited or King Queen suited,
it can't be beat.
Or Ace King suited, of course, it cannot be beat to the end of the hand. Now, even if you've got Ace Ace and you flop quad aces, you can still be beaten.
Yeah, because you can get a straight flush.
Because if it comes on if you're playing Ace Ace and it comes, say, Ace Ace 10, and it's the same suit as one of the aces on the board, somebody might be there immediately on a gut shot royal flush draw, which will beat your quad aces. See, so it can be beaten.
So Jack 10 suited is the only hand where you can flop the absolute
No, it's not the only hand. All honour cards, all connected honour cards, suited. If you happen to flop a running flush, it cannot be beaten to the end of the hand.
Oh, well, there you go.
Have you ever heard that mentioned on Poker Night Live before?
I don't think I have.
Well, there you go.
Oh, so you learn something new every day.
We've drifted.
We have drifted to
somewhere,
bits of poker trivia.
But not much is going on this table at the moment.
Oh, well, we've got
the
an
father
Ace
goes
9.
in with a 4 times the blind raise with Ace 9. I thought about calling this. No, oh, excuse me, 4 times the small blind, so twice the big blind. Perfectly reasonable move from the Ace 9 suited. He certainly made me throw away my Jack 9, and presumably Horwick throws away his King 5.
Okay, little
and
teeth.
Picks up the blinds. The blinds are worth stealing now, 80 and 40.
120 chips.
And King King from H2O Stephen. He puts about 2/3 of his stack in. He's probably quite happy to pick up the blinds. He might have done better. That's right, Horwick calls this. In fact, he re-raises it. I didn't greatly care for Horwick's move here. And Horwick succeeds in doubling H2O Stephen up.
Love the way you put that. All right, well, not much going on here.
Well, I mean, people moan about getting raggy cards all the time, you know, cards that you can't play. But let's not forget that most of the cards that you're going to get, it's completely normal to get unplayable hands.
Yeah. Well, I suppose it's the unusual hands that people wouldn't usually expect you to be playing with, which that can sometimes hit the monster hands, which you'll get paid.
Absolutely. The best hand to take off Ace Ace is, of course, 7/8 suited, because it's the aces are not blocking the straight in any way at all, and you're actually better off with 7/8 suited against Ace Ace than you are with King King.
Yes, that makes sense.
Well, not to everyone, Michelle. But
although at the time you would...
7/8 suited doesn't look very good when you're facing a monster raise pre-flop.
You still would think the kings would be better,
and
but
you
they're
will,
not.
and you will throw it away. So I get another pretty much unplayable hand here. Looks like TEMH with the pair of sevens has the best starting hand at the table, and indeed it's folded around to him. Still a very tight table, still 8 players left in. He puts in a big raise against your dad. He doesn't really want to see a flop with 7-7.
Just quite happy to take it down.
Your dad lays down a hand where he would have been 48% there, and if he'd known he was up against 7-7, he probably would have called. He would have been correct to call.
Cards.
Now, I put in a fairly chunky raise here, 4 times the big blind with ace-jack. This is an interesting hand, Michelle.
Yeah, it's very unfortunate you've come into an ace-queen.
Yeah, watch this. Watch what happens next.
Oof.
He goes all in. Now,
Huge.
what do you think I should do?
Well, I'd fold at that point.
Well, that's because you know he's got an ace-queen.
Even without the ace-queen, I'd fold and try and wait. I'd rather be the one going all in with an ace-jack, to be honest, rather than calling a big raise with an ace-jack.
Right. Well, I laid it down, as you saw. And it's not to say I wouldn't have won the hand, but I would have been in about the worst possible shape.
Yeah.
Ace-jack against ace-queen. And I reason as follows. I'm either being re-raised by ace-king or ace-queen, or a pocket pair. Okay. I can't think of any other hand that he's going to re-raise me on. Remember, I've come out firing a big raise from early position.
Yeah.
And in other words, I've bet my hand, and he's come over the top, and I have to assume that he's got either a pocket pair, in which case I'm behind, or he's completely dominating me with a bigger ace. And I concluded it was, even if he had a pocket pair, it might be aces, kings, or queens, or jacks, in which case I'm in terrible shape. Even if it's a lower pocket pair than that, I'm still in pretty bad shape, and I still haven't really got the pot odds to call that when he's made an all-in bet. So a sweet move from TEMH, but I'm rather proud of my laydown there.
Yeah, very well laid down. As Hoyt Balls gets knocked out with the 10s, unfortunately, there they are. Runs into kings, ends up all in, and gets knocked out by TMH. So unfortunate for Hoyt Boys, but he did say he won $100 heads up, so it's not all bad luck for him tonight. Okay, a re-raise here with the TMH. Well, not a re-raise, sorry, a bet. Mr. Clark with the Queen Jack.
I was thinking about calling this, and I thought for a while and decided not to. Again, I would have been in appalling shape had I called there. Yeah,
and hands like Queen Jack, surely you want to be, if you're going to put that amount of money into the pot with the Queen Jack, surely you want to be the one raising, because you get the fold equity as well.
Okay. Also, you want to play Queen Jack in a multi-way pot. Played Queen Jack and Jack 10, play very well in multi-way pots. These are the hands where you get big payoffs when you hit it, and you can get off the hand very easily.
The implied odds are a lot more.
The implied odds are a lot more, but also it's the type of hand that you can get off very easily if you haven't hit it.
If you don't have anything.
You know, if the texture of the flop doesn't suit you, it's much easier to get off than, for example, if you're playing 10-10 and the flop comes down with, say, 1 overcard, you know, you don't really know where you are, and you can end up losing all your stack on it. Try to play hands where you're more likely to win big pots than lose big pots. Anyway.
Excellent. Ace-Jack there for Ular. Nice raise. Don't think TMH can't call that with a rubbish king.
Another raggy hand. You'll notice that we started with 2,000 chips here. I've still got 1,600, and apart from having ace-ace once, I haven't really had anything.
No, you've had ace-ace. You were unfortunate with the ace-jack raise. You had to put it down. Great put down against the ace-queen. You even tried playing with a few rubbishy hands at the beginning, like 9-7, to try and hit something, but didn't.
Yeah, I think the end is in sight. If I remember this correctly. Interestingly enough, the pair of fours lays it down in first position. Certainly that's one strategy with a small pocket pair.
I'm a bit like that with small pocket pairs. I really wussy when it comes to small pocket pairs.
Yeah.
I rarely get involved.
Right.
I'm terrible.
Well, I've put in a big raise here. Ular thinks for a long time with his small pocket pair, lays it down. I'm up against ace 10, and I can't believe that Puck re-raises this. And then I'm afraid I call this. How on earth he knows he's ahead with ace 10 against my ace 9 when I've raised in that position, I can only assume that's some kind of psychic re-raise. And then, of course,
you've hit your 9.
This is a very painful flop for me because I've hit middle pair with top kicker.
Well, after he then goes all in, are you not a little bit worried with middle pair?
No, he'd play the same way with ace king. I've also got the gut shot flush draw, which will beat his flush if running hearts come. I think for a long time, and I think I'm pot committed. At this stage, I've got the nut draw, and I miss it, and that's me out.
The end is nigh.
Virtually out, excuse me. I've got 60 chips left.
Do you think with the ace, with the raise with the ace 9 in that position, is that a raise you would do again? Looking back,
I think perhaps I was blinded by the ace because it was the biggest card I'd seen
had him so long
for 20 minutes, and I think perhaps I was also relying on the fact that people tend to fold to presenters' raises,
which they do as well, which is quite nice.
So I then end up having to stick it all in on Jack 8 suited in the next hand. Nothing happens on the flop, and that's good night from him. In fact, my opponent catches a queen on the river.
Oh, poor old Clarkie's Gonsty.
But that was all about playing ace 9 against ace 10. How Puck knew to re-raise with the ace 10, I shall never know or understand.
Well, we do have an email from Mr. Puck, so we'll read that after the tourney.
But anyway, some kind of a psychic raise. It worked well for him, and he effectively busted me out. At least now we can follow the rest of the tournament without self-involvement.
Well, we've got the Gov. He's still there. Hasn't been doing much right lately. He's tightened up a little bit.
But he's about on par there. Perfectly playable stack.
As Ular gets his flush.
He does. King Jack taking off King Queen because it was suited on this occasion.
What are you going to do with the banning this time, Dad? Not good enough now, is it for you? Now the blinds are too big.
The ace 6 could easily try a steal here.
Yep.
Good time for H2O to stick all of this in, which he does. I didn't know that, incidentally.
Excellent.
The ace picks up.
And unfortunately, one of his 6s is in Ular's hand.
Only a 1-outer now. It doesn't come, and that's goodbye, Stephen.
So if he trots.
I see. I'm starting to realise as soon as the presenter goes, the table gets a lot looser.
Yeah. Every time. It happens very quickly after the presenter's gone.
So they want to wait for somebody to bust out the presenter, and then they can start playing normally.
Yeah. That's
Okay.
pretty much how it works. Right, look at this. Mr. Orpe, Father Dearest, has flopped these 3 kings. Is he going to get paid? No. It's a shame. How you realise, Dad, if you don't get in the money, that means my rent is halved for at least 2 months. Think that's fair?
I see.
That's fair enough.
You're making these deals in the knowledge of the result, of course.
Yep.
And would you say that your rent gets quartered if he gets bubbled by any
I
chance?
think that's only fair. I really do. I don't see any problem with that.
He's limped with his 10-9 off the small blind. Picks up a gut shot straight draw. First, he comes out betting. Nice move from your dad. Though he was well behind. And a load of rags on this one.
Oof.
The King 4 hasn't walked into anything and presumably takes 240 chips worth of blinds.
Good bet there. I mean, we can see it's a good bet looking at the cards, but without knowing the cards? Seems a bit risky.
Not to my taste, Michel, but on this occasion it works. Awful lot of hands out to beat him. That's King 4 is barely an average hand if you consider that Queen 7 is a plumb average hand.
Queen 7.
King 4, Queen 7, probably about the same.
James had a go at me for not trying to steal the blinds with the Queen 7 last time I played.
Yeah, why not? Steal the blinds with any hand.
Well, we've got an ace-6 suited here. Hammerhead might decide to have a stab at this. I know I would. Yep. Ular doesn't really need to get involved with the Queen 9, but he might do. No, good.
Hammerhead takes it down. I don't actually know what happened in this tournament after I left it, because I was back.
Yeah, you started. You helped me again.
I was back commentating on another table, so I'm quite enjoying this.
Ooh, now my dad's going to like the a7 suited. I have a feel. So what does Ular do?
Well, Ular is going to raise a really chunky raise here. Your father should throw this away.
Yay.
And does. People sometimes get carried away with a raggy suited ace when there's a pre-flop raise, and yes, you can flop the nut flush, but this isn't going to happen very often, and it's far more likely that you are dominated by a bigger ace. And your father quite correctly threw it away, and puck bluffer.
Bluffed at the wrong moment, although...
Well, it's not really a bluff. He's got an he's got an ace.
Look at that!
And Hammerhead lays it down.
Hammerhead lays down the ace-queen.
Surprising from Hammerhead. A lot of people say that ace-queen is in fact a losing hand. And
yes, I got told off for calling it an all-in. Someone raised me all-in a multi-table tournament, and I had ace-queen, and I called.
And he had ace-king.
Yeah, he had ace-king, and they all said, "Oh, it's your, you shouldn't have called that." And since then, I haven't been calling it all-in.
Yep. Ace-queen is not as good as it looks, because it's the type of hand that tends to win the blinds when you raise pre-flop, as indeed you should, just based on the high card strength. However, when you get involved in a pot, so often you get involved with a hand that is beating you. It's not only beating you, it may end up as a difficult hand for you to get off.
Well, interesting, because Dad's missed, he's been called, his raise has been called, he puts him some more money. Oh! Ooh! All in! Oh, Dad, you're going to be gutted when you see this tomorrow.
He has to lay it down. He has to lay it down. It's the correct play to lay it down. TMH is very strongly representing a king.
I saw this because I went in, I can't believe you bluffed my dad, and because he did exactly the same thing to me as well the other day.
Yeah, well, that's poker. And I don't blame your father for laying that down at all. There were 2 overcards on the board. There was a potential flush and a potential straight. As it happens, TMH had very little. He would only have been on virtually a 6-outer. And your father was well ahead. That's not to say that he would have won if he'd called.
That's true.
And he's taken the safe option and decided not to. Good bluff from TMH.
Gets a free ride that time. Got a couple of rag aces in there. Ular, is Ular going to go for a bit of a steal? Nope.
Well, I'm surprised, really. I wouldn't have blamed Ular for raising there. I think he's decided that he's chip leader. This means that he doesn't have to play any hands that he doesn't want to, and he doesn't want to get involved with a raggy ace.
It'll be interesting what happens here, because Dad's raised and been called, and he's missed. We see Puck's missed as well. What does he do? He puts in that little bet again. You do this a lot, don't you, Dad? Your little big blind bet.
Well, great.
Maybe it looks a bit weak, though. I mean, Puck hasn't actually got anything, so it should be enough.
Well, it's a very good flop to bluff at, Michelle, because there's only one honour card there, and it's a rainbow. And I think your father's chosen the right moment to do that.
And if he thinks he can make Puck put it down with that minimum raise, then why risk any more?
Perfectly reasonable move. Puck is just going to steal Hammerhead's blinds here.
All in.
I see, he's not messing about with this.
It's a 320.
A huge all-in with the Queen 9. An interesting move. He probably knows that if he gets called, at least he's got live cards. Probably better doing it with a Queen 9 than something like a King Jack.
Yep.
Funnily enough.
We've got Ace 9 here and Ace 10.
Both suited.
Yep.
But two of TMH's hearts have already gone with Puck Bluffer, and none of Ular's clubs have gone. But we'd expect it to develop into a tussle between the two of them, with Ular a long way behind. Not anymore, he's hit the 9. And TMH needs a 10 to stay in this tournament. It doesn't come, and he's gone. Now, I played Ace-9 and effectively got busted out against Ace-10. It's just not fair, is it?
It's not fair, is it? Why do we play this game of poker, John? Why do we do it to ourselves? Right, I can see a bet here with the Ace-8.
Well,
Mr.
not
Chip
necessarily.
leader.
We've already seen Ular throw away hands like this because he's a chip leader and he doesn't want to get involved. He doesn't want to risk getting bubbled.
That's fair enough.
And I wouldn't be surprised if he threw us away. He doesn't need to steal the blinds here. And he correctly lays it down.
Done,
Very good
Mr.
move.
Wick.
Your dad with the 9-10 suited decides he likes the look of the big blind. He's not going to like the look of the re-raise, and he should certainly throw this away.
Dad, put it down. Well done.
And well played again, Mr. Orpe.
Bubble situation.
I'm afraid he's left himself as the bottom stack, though.
Now, you better not be bubble, because remember what I said about the rent? This is my account that he's playing with. Very important. He gets into the money. Queen for Mr. Puck.
Who will presumably bet this and take it uncontested. At this stage, your father is still joint third. But not much to work with there. Seven deuce, I think he had, yeah?
Yeah, something not too...
The worst starting
pretty.
hand that you can get, 7 deuce. Worse than 3 deuce, because the 7 deuce can't hit the straight so easily.
A couple of 9-10 suiteds here.
The King 8 puts in a big raise, and the old raggy ace, best starting hand at the table, is probably going to lay it down because of the situation. Your father would be in pretty good shape to call here.
Yeah?
But I wouldn't blame him either for laying it down.
Okay. Quite a difficult decision then here.
Quite a difficult decision. I mean, if he knew he was up against King 8, he would probably call.
Is it a call though, or would it be a re-raise all in?
No, I think no. It's still a drawing hand. He doesn't need to put all his chips in and risk it on 9-10. I think he made the correct move and laid it down. I would have laid it down. Doesn't mean it's the correct move, but I would have laid it down.
If John Clark says that laying it down is what he would do, that makes it the correct move tonight on Poker Night Live.
Thank you, Michelle. But unfortunately,
he's very short now.
He's withering away, and you couldn't blame him for sticking it all in on this.
It's a rag ace, it's into an ace king.
He doesn't know he's betting into ace king suited, but I mean, he's the bottom stack. If he doesn't make a move soon, he's going to get blinded away. Puck will have no trouble calling this.
So it's unfortunate.
And your father's in terrible shape. He doesn't yet have a draw. He has only a 3 now plays for him. And it's the bubble for Mr. Orpe. How sad are we about that?
That's terrible.
Your dad got bubbled, but your rent went down.
I should be happy, but I have this little inkling feeling that this isn't going to happen. It was a deal, Dad. We had a deal. Well, I did. Bubble, come on, that cost $20. I've only got 40 in there. What were we talking about earlier about bankroll? Not happy. Right, we do have a couple of emails here from people. We have one from Mr. Puck Bluffer.
Okay.
He says, "Hi Michelle and John, I had great fun on the Beat the Presenter table tonight and did my own version of the victory dance at the end. A bit of Beyonce booty shaking. Well, we do, you know, this victory dance is something that you should be doing when you win because it does make you feel good." He said, "Just wanted a quick comment on my queen's lay down. My queen lay down around hand 19 to Mr. Orpe. I put Dad on Ace Jack, Ace Queen with his pre-flop, well, Granddad now actually, congratulations to my sister who's pregnant. I put Dad on Ace Jack, Ace Queen with his pre-flop call to my re-raise. Ace on the flop meant I had to stay alive and lay down the ladies. To the old man's all in. We will see what he had in a few mows. What do you choose, staying alive or win or bust? For taking down both start names tonight, an invite out with the 4 Orpe chiclets would be a smashing win bonus. Of course, me and my 3 sisters. You're next to Nursey, over the tables, of course, with Essex respect. I'll take you on Park, because this isn't a problem. You know, I'm a slightly better player than my dad. Not really. Well, we're different. He's made more money than me, to be fair. Thank you very much, Park, for the email.
I think we complimented his lay down at the time.
I think we did, yeah, I think we did. So well done. The ace was there was a raise pre-flop. You thought right after that, and I look forward to playing you over the tables. Right, so you have an email from Double Top as well. He says, "Hi, it's Double Top here. I am so tired." Oh no, we can't read this one yet actually, because this is about multi-table tourney. So Double Top, we'll save this because it has some information about the multi-table tournament, so we'll save that. We have one from Serena. She says, "Hi there, Michelle and John. I was listening to your commentary on tournaments. I usually play no limit, small money cash games, mainly for fun, and play with around £30 a month. Last week I dabbled into tournaments. I started on £3 tournaments with great success, then went up to £5 tournaments, also great success. I'm assuming it's probably in dollars. Now up to £10 tournaments, great result. To my amazement, last Friday I come first in a multi-table tournament. My balance has gone from £22 to over £800. My question is, shall I be brave enough to move on to even higher level tournaments, or will I be out of my league at £50 tournaments as I play many of my cards on intuition?" Okay, what do you think, John?
Well done, Serena. It's always nice to hear a success story from players starting off at very low stakes that they can afford to lose on the internet. There is a phenomenon in poker that as the stakes go up, so does the quality of the play. There is an enormous difference between these incredibly small entry fee tournaments like £3 and £5, and indeed there are sites on the internet, Michelle, that play in sterling rather than in dollars.
Okay, yeah.
And you will find, Serena, that as the stake goes up, so does the quality of your opposition. You can also find that out in an expensive way, but give it a go. But I would say move up just one level at a time, and as soon as you realize that you're the mug at the table, then move back down to the level of tables where you were consistently winning. But there's still stunning results. Well done. £22 in your account, up to 800. Yeah. I would still learn to walk before you can run.
Yes.
And gradually, and there is, make no mistake, there is an enormous difference in the skill level between the very low value tables and the high value tables. As soon as you start moving into the realms of even £50 tables, people can almost be making a living at if they are playing enough of them in a day. Let's not forget, you can play 20 or 30 of those in a day. If you're cashing 50% of the time, you're making a very comfortable living wage.
Yeah, and you know, we did talk about this earlier. If you play where you cannot afford to lose, or you're worried about losing in any way, then you won't play a comfortable game, you won't play to your optimum level, and it's a bad way of playing poker, which is why you should be playing. What is the recommendation to your bankroll, to what you should be playing is you should have 10 times the buy-in or something like that, is it?
For your bankroll, the bankroll being what you have put aside and are prepared
yeah, what
to
you
lose.
have in your what you have in your account. So say you've got $500 in your account, you could be comfortably playing $50 tournaments, maybe.
Sure,
or do you need more?
sure.
Yeah.
10 times, that's about right. But it's not to say that you don't lose the lot if you happen to lose 10 tables on the trot.
So be prepared to go below zero.
Perfectly comfortable. But I really like your email, Serena. That's a terrific point, and I think that's a story that a lot of people watching this program can relate to.
Yeah.
What I'd like you to do is move up to the level that you've suggested there, which I think is perhaps 1 or 2 steps too far at the moment. Move up and email us again and let us know the results of that.
Well, we do have to go to a break now, unfortunately, but do let us know. We do love getting emails from you. So don't go anywhere. John and I will return after the break for our multi-table tournament final table. We'll see you then. Good morning and welcome back to Poker Night Live, and it's been a wonderful evening. It was great fun watching the Beat the Presenter with John and my dad. Hilarious. Unfortunate John with the ace-9. A learning curve though for all of us. It's been a good night actually tonight, and of course we've had the multi-table tournament of our Poker Night Live Poker Bowl semi-final, where the top 6 will be coming to the Poker Bowl studio to battle it out in a final live. We'll be able to see them and everything. It'll be wonderful. Before we go to that though, I do have an email I want to do. We've got an email from Matt, who says, "Hi guys, great show as always." He said, "Below is a printout of my ratings," which obviously I can't show you at home, and from PokerScope. "Do you think I should move up a level or stay where I'm winning and making a profit? The games I'm playing are sit and goes for $10, $20 with 6 or 10 players. ROI stands for return on investment." So basically he's got a total profit of $819. So what do you think there? Should he move up a level with that type of profit on a $10, $20 game?
Definitely. Those are stunning results. Whatever you're doing, it's doing fine. But just as we mentioned to Serena earlier, just move up one level at a time. Move to $30 tables or something like that and see how you go. As soon as you find you're losing, drop back down to the level that you're comfortable at. And I think you will notice this phenomenon that even when you move up one level, the quality of the play tends to improve. Move up 3 or 4 levels at a time, which you can do, and play a $100 table, and you will find out for yourself.
Lovely, yeah. Well, do let us know as well how you get on with that. But I think let's go straight there to the final table of the multi-table tournament. I don't know why I'm doing it in Italian. Seem to fit at the moment. Right, so here we are. So this is the final table. Last 8. Now, we started off with 54 players tonight, so it's a semi-final. Only 6 will go through to come here to the studios. So the first 2 out will leave with nothing,
So
which is pretty awful, really.
It's like a double bubble, really.
It's a double bubble.
It's a double bubble.
But who will it be? Well, let's have a look at the stacks. Balrog and Jamati are the worst.
And Snappet's in pretty good shape. We saw him very early on in the tournament.
Snappy's always up there. How does he do it?
He's obviously a very keen and active player.
And it goes to show, because Snappy genuinely tends to end up in the last table of these things so many times. It does show that those that are good players can, you know, beat the luck and get there playing well.
Skill will always tell in the long run, Michelle. But it's an interesting table, this, because we've got 2 players that are clearly being targeted by all the others. One is Balrog, and the other is Jamati. Few people are going to want to play a pot here because they want to see the 2 short stacks get blinded out. A flat call from the double top here. He picks up middle pair, but Balrog has got a straight draw, which in some cases would give double top 2 pair. And I think Balrog has got to call this. It's a horrible call to have to make. He's also got an overcard to the board. I think he's short stacked, and I think he's got to stick it in here and die with his boots on or double through on this hand.
You think?
That's my opinion. He lays it down, and I can't see how he's going to make the qualifying place of a laydown. He was facing the small blind coming, which was about 20% of his stack. Golden Jaguar picks up ace-ace and is not messing about. He gets it all in first. He's just happy to pick up 3,000 on the blinds, which is exactly what is going to happen, I think. Now, if Balrog calls this, it will just go to show how he would have had a much better chance with his open-ended straight draw on the previous hand.
Well, they just take down blinds. Oh, I mean, it is a horrible time, because after all the work for the whole night, and it's such a wonderful prize.
Well, Jamati goes all in with his 7-7. He's going to get called by the Queen-Queen, and he's going to be in pretty bad shape here. Queen-Queen just flat calls. I would have preferred an all-in from Gilberto as well at that stage to get Jamati all to himself.
Oh,
catches a 7 on the river.
Look at that, Mr. Jamati.
A very nasty moment for Jamati, but suddenly he's in tremendous shape now in this tournament, and Balrog has almost got a target printed on his forehead.
I can't see you making the move with the 3-7.
People are only going to play premium hands at this stage, and Snappit has no interest in trying to steal a blind here, and the King-King just picks up the small blind.
Oh, how unfortunate.
That's okay. Snappit had a very poor hand and probably wouldn't have stolen it, tried to steal anyway, but particularly not interested in that, given the relative chip stacks at the table, and given what's going to come next. Right, Balrog then decides now's his moment. The blinds are heading his way. He's got King-8 suited, and he's in pretty good shape against these hands, especially as they've all got spades. I wonder if Jamati is going to call this with the 10-9 suited. He knows that Balrog is probably doing this light. It's only 2,840 more to call, and I think he should call.
Yeah, I think I would have
He
called
should
that.
call. He gets his reward with 2 9s on the
Balrog.
flop, and he's drawing dead, and it's goodbye Balrog. And Jamati, who was a very short stack just a moment ago, lucked out with a 7 on the river to hit trips and take off Queen-Queen. Now rises to the occasion and makes a brilliant call with 10-9 suited, and gets his reward with a double hit on the flop.
Oh, poor old Balrog, going out 8th, 2 away, 1 away from getting in to the final 6.
But you see now, Michelle, why he would have been much better off calling with his gut shot straight draw when he already had a certain investment in the pot, and had he won that one, he would have had a playable stack, and he would be in the sort of position that Jamati is in now.
Well, he has emailed in, actually. So we'll read that out.
Okay. So, one more bubble left.
We've got Snappit, we've got Golden Jaguar, Jamati, Ace Jules, Gilberto, The Double Top, and Bono, U2, all left. And one more place has to die before our 6 are chosen.
And what's interesting about this table is, Michelle, there is no really clear target at the moment.
There isn't, is there?
Everybody can hurt everybody else.
Who will it be?
And this is the time when you need that little bit of luck.
Yeah.
You need that wonderful hand that you sit there maybe half an hour waiting for a premium hand to come along. Suddenly King-9 looks good to Gilberto, and he puts it all in. Ace-10 is all over him, but is probably going to lay it down because of the situation.
Takes the blinds.
And Gilberto takes it down, and the blinds are a fortune to him.
And you can, I mean, especially now, where there's only one more person to go out, it's, I mean, I do feel so sorry for these two that are going to go out, but you can't let it affect your play, can you? But you will, I think, because you're going to be so worried about being this last person out before the glory.
Well, it's also a great time to bluff, because it's incredibly difficult for people to call. I mean, Snap It could go all in here, and Ace Jules will throw away Ace King.
Probably.
But it's not going to happen. Snap It is sitting there, determined to get his 6th place.
Oh, I can't even watch.
Who's it going to be?
They've come so far. It seems so unfair. I know it's poker, but it's something. It's not for money, so it doesn't matter. It's for the chance to come and play live on the telly, and everyone wants it, and they all deserve it. Poor old Balrog's just gone. We've got one more to go. It's awful to watch, but that is the game.
I think we're only going to get a result here, Michelle, when 2 big hands walk into each other.
I think so.
And
yeah.
Even Ace-9 doesn't think twice, just lays it down pre-flop to the Ace-Queen raise.
Fours didn't want anything.
Will presumably pick up the blinds. But Golden Jaguar, he's bottom stack. He doesn't like losing his small blind. He thought about calling there. 6-2 obviously doesn't. But Golden Jaguar is the shortest stack at the moment. But he's got the relative safety of the dealer button and the relative safety of pocket rockets on the dealer button. Let's see how he plays this, because let's firstly see what Snap It does with his King-Queen. He just throws it away because of the situation at the table. Ace-Ace, is he going to overplay this? He's overplayed it. I like the flat call there. He's only going to get that hand 1 in 220 hands, and all he wants to do is steal 3,000 worth of blinds. If he'd slow played that and a king came on the flop, he might have taken everything.
Or he could have taken nothing if 3 clubs had come.
Yes, true, but I would have preferred to see a flat call there.
Is it because of the situation we're in here? He doesn't want to do anything that's going to jeopardise. He just wants to take them blinds and hang on in there.
I don't think it's enough for him. I mean, he's still one of the bottom 2 stacks. I suppose Gilberto was about to hit the big blind. I still think that either a smaller raise or even a flat call would have been the way to big money there. Of course he can take the blinds with an all-in raise, but he could do that with any hand.
Oh, what 6 will it be? Who will we get to meet?
Well, this could be interesting, because Gilberto can obviously see that he's the bottom stack, and it wouldn't at all surprise me if he stuck it all in on this. Surely now. Yes, well played, Gilberto. This is certainly one way to play a small pocket pair on the small blind, when everyone before you has folded and you're only up against the big blind. You're a favourite against any hand except a higher pocket pair, and double top is very unlikely to have been holding a higher pocket pair, and Gilberto correctly sticks it all in, risks his life, but you have to do that from time to time in poker if you're going to accumulate a stack. What Gilberto does know is that he's still bottom stack even after that blind steal, and he's still the target for the other players, who are all incredibly tight now because of the situation. Any bet from either player will take this pot. Double top catches a 5 on the river. He's still not guaranteed to win if Bono U2, sorry. Oh, Bono U2, right, I got it. Bono U2 put in a raise. This table is one of the tightest we've ever seen on Poker Night Live, Michelle, and that's...
Yes, I think it's because we know what's going to be happening to the next one out. They're going to be feeling awful. You never know, maybe one of the others can't make it and they give you their spot.
The blinds...
Doubt it, but you never know.
The blinds are going to go up, as ever they do on this type of table, and quite soon now people will start hurting because of the level of the blinds. One way to measure this is explained in Harrington's book, and it's called the M. And the M is the relationship between the total of the small blind and the big blind and your own stack. At the moment, the blinds are 1,000 and 2,000, and Gilberto has a stack of 17,000. Right. It means that his M is just below 6. if his stack was 18,000, his M would be precisely 6.
Okay.
And the red
And how do
line,
you work that out?
the total of the small blind and the big blind is 3,000,
Yep.
divided into his total stack, which, let's say it's 18,000, and his blind, his M would be 6.
Okay.
Now, your red line for your M is 5.
Okay.
When your M hits 5, that is when you are effectively redlining it, and that is when you need to make a move.
Okay.
Now, as it happens at this table, they are all fairly evenly stacked. If you look, incredibly evenly stacked, actually, if you think about it. And Snap It may end up getting punished, you know, for being so tight. He hasn't played a hand for weeks.
We haven't seen him play a hand yet, I
No,
don't think.
he's just waiting. He's thrown a lot of good hands
Not quite
away.
weeks, but
Weeks. It
few
feels like
minutes.
weeks. It feels like weeks. And the 10 Jack has made a move.
It's just,
and
it's trying to hold on, isn't it? Just hoping someone else will go out.
Everybody at the table just wants somebody else to go out. They want two people fighting big. Nobody is prepared to pick up the gloves at the moment. And so we're seeing a lot of big hands thrown away. Gilberto, the King 7 is all over him, but his aggression pays off. Nice move from Gilberto. He's aware that
He's done a few really good moves, Gilberto, though, I think.
He's going to make a terrific move here. I predict it's all going in again here, Michelle.
We've got 3s and ace 10.
Golden Jags to throw it away. Even the ace 10 can't be too comfortable about his hand. But he puts in, and it's all in from Gilberto, surely. And he's got a well played, Gilberto. If Giamatti catches an ace, but Giamatti's not even going to call this. He's going to lay it down. Ace 10, no good. Losing to ace jack, losing to ace queen, losing to ace king, losing to any pocket pair. As it turns out, he's only got a 3-outer because he's got a 10 in his hand. Also, okay, running king, queen, jack. But of course he's not going to call the raise. Well played, Gilberto, who is now no longer the short stack. He's got there by pure aggression. Yeah,
and he has been. He's taken a couple of risks there. He could have been called by a better hand, but he still did it. He knew that the risk was that he would go out 7th and not get a play, so good on you, Gilberto.
Yeah, and that's sort of evened it up a little bit more. And Golden Jaguar picks up the best hand at the table, but everyone is going to fold to him. Snap It's folded a lot of hands, and I wonder if Snap It is feeling slightly uncomfortable. He was virtually chip leader at the table a little while back, but he's lost all his blinds, except one, I think, when everybody folded to his big blind. Lays down Queen 3 suited. Pair of 2s in terrible shape against a pair of 6s. Once again, aggression would pay here. Unless it comes from the 2-2, because the 6-6 knows he's winning now.
Oof, a little bit of a re-raise there.
Oh, well, that's not clever, Giamatti. And this could this could get you bubbled. You've got to lay this down. The re-raise was bad.
Got away from it.
Well, he got away from it.
Now in dire straits.
But the blinds, being where they are, he's had to put in the small blind on some rags he's got here, and his M has now fallen to just above 4.
So now he's got to make a move.
Not this hand. 9-3 suited is
good enough.
Just not good enough.
And because he's now going on to the dealer bar, he does have a few hands to catch a hand to make a move.
Exactly that. Well spotted, Michelle. The relative sanctity of the dealer button.
It's just quite a nice feeling when you're low and you know you've just got a little bit of hope, flicker of hope of hitting a nice hand. Yeah. But then you do have decisions when you start hitting things like ace-8 and you're like, oh, I've got another 4 goes.
See, now notice, sorry to interrupt you, Michelle, but notice that Golden Jaguar lays down ace-jack there, allowing Giamatti to go all in with the ace-8, and he'll probably pick up the blinds, which incidentally have now increased to 2,000 and 4,000. So his M is actually only just above 2 at this stage. And can the pair of ducks rise to the occasion and find a call here? He ought to know that he is only losing to a higher pocket pair. He's thinking about it. He doesn't like it.
I think I'd have to put it down there.
And he throws it away. Okay. He's had a quick look round the table at the relatives' chip stacks. He knows that he's left with a perfectly playable stack. And look how even it is.
Very even.
Only Ace Jules has significantly more than anybody else. And notice, as a consequence of that, he's not interested in getting involved. But now that the blinds are up to 2 and 4, that's 6,000 total. So virtually everybody else at the table has got an M of 3. Now, of course,
Snappet's made a move.
With 8-8. Yes, Snappet's decided that he can't sit there
any
longer.
He does not want to call, though, I don't think, in his head.
Of course not. He just wants those blinds so that you win the blinds and you pick up effectively 1M.
1M. 1 Michelle. That worked. Well done, Snappet. Finally made a move.
Sorry to disappoint you, Michelle, but M actually stands for McGreal, who is Paul McGreal, who is probably the greatest educator and entertainer in the backgammon world.
Oh, right, yeah.
But he is also a huge poker player and has had some very successful results recently, final table of some big televised tournaments. And I heard he picked up $200,000 at a tournament just recently.
Always nice.
He also has, as you can imagine, a brilliant poker brain and contributed to Dan Harrington's excellent books. So King 10 might well fancy a steal. He's not going to like... Oh, he just flat calls.
Golden Jaguar, surely a re-raise.
Well, not surely. I mean,
No?
he doesn't know what... Well, he has re-raised, and now Snappet will throw it away.
Although saying that, Snappet is well known for slow playing and trap checking.
Sure.
So, yeah, you're right. It is a little bit of a decision, isn't it? But it makes him put it down, yeah.
Snappet throws it away and is now virtually joint bottom. But this is still anyone's game. I assume that once one player is knocked out here, Michelle, then there's nothing left to play for.
No, they will carry on playing anyway.
They'll carry on playing,
There's
but then
nothing more to play for now.
At this moment, there's everything to play for.
Every single thing.
As soon as one player goes out, right, King Queen suited
This could be it.
Slightly behind to the Ace 7 suited. Who is going to have trouble calling this? He's looking round at everybody else's chip stack. He thinks he might be ahead. He's not sure. Should he call? Should he fold?
Oh, it's a horrible
Very
one.
tough one. He lays it down.
Yeah.
He still thinks he's got a playable stack, but he's going to be facing the small blind here. So that's another 2,000 gone. He's certainly the new target. If it's folded round to him, he'll be going all in.
Oh, this is so awful. This is so exciting at the same time. All this play, the person that goes out is going to be devastated.
Oh, he folded Queen Jack. He laid down King Jack and he's short stacked and he was in there for 2,000 on the blind. Very disappointing.
Dramati. Should have been all in there.
As a matter of fact, in Copenhagen a couple of weeks ago, I had to go all in with Queen Jack in exactly the same position.
Yep.
My opponent turned over Ace King.
Nasty.
And I caught a Jack on the river to become chip leader instead of busted out in 5th, which is what should have happened.
Lovely. Well, Ace Jules has gone into chip lead now by quite a way, so Ace Jules is probably feeling a little bit happy with himself. Now he has the aces. He can quite happily cover both of these players.
Come on, flat call. Just double the blind raise, that's fine. And you wouldn't blame double top for coming over the top and going all in with his Jack 10, but he throws it away, largely on account of Gilberto's stack, who is delighted to see King King arrive, along with the dealer button. He will, I think, happily stick it all in here. Oh, Ace Jules, what is this? What are you doing? That's obviously going to happen. You don't flat call into the man on the dealer button who's short stacked, and he's going to put it in on 82 cards. What are you going to do now? Did he call? He did.
He did?
Thinks he can afford to call, and...
Cool, I bet Gilberto's heart went a bit there.
Yeah, but he's ended up doubling through, more than doubling through, because he got the blinds as well.
This is it, I'm sure of it.
Ace-8 against Ace-9. How does the Ace-9 call this?
Oh, no, he doesn't.
He lays it down, as do the blinds. This is what happens at a very, very tight table.
Oh, snap it now, look at snap it.
And snap it and...
Snap it and double top and Bono. It's all changed a bit now.
Mm-hmm. Also, another thing about the principle of the M, you need to be aware of other people's M, so that when somebody who has a low M puts all their chips in, they're less likely to have a really good hand because their move is in some way forced upon them because of the pressure of the M and the pressure of the blinds coming. Double top picks up the rockets.
Ow, Giamatti. Jacks. What does he do here?
He's going to call.
John?
He's obviously going to call. But he's in terrible shape. He can't throw this away. He's short stacked as well. And this is it. Unless the jack comes, he hits trip ace. He didn't need the ace on the river, just as long as it wasn't a jack.
Giamatti now really going to struggle, and he's on the big blind.
Small blind.
Small blind, sorry. Double top, very happy with that.
Can't criticise the call from Giamatti. There are only 3 hands out there that are beating him pre-flop. He was short stacked as well.
He was very unfortunate there.
I don't know how he can fold his small blind with a stack like that. I mean, that's, you know, just because he's got the button left. I mean, he can't even make the big blind unless he doubles through before then. A
fold there from Bono U2, just because he knows Giamatti's going to have to be all in at some point.
Of course, they're all going to fold. They're not going to play it. There's not going to be a hand played now unless somebody gets ace-ace or king-king or ace-king before Giamatti comes. And if anybody raises at any time, they will fold. Everybody will fold unless they are holding ace, probably ace-ace. At this particular moment, I would lay down ace-king to a raise, because Giamatti, who's obviously going to stick it all in now on his 8-8.
Yeah.
A nice flat call from Golden Jaguar for 4,000. And if these players have got any sense...
Gilberto's coming in for the extra 2,000 as well, because they're going to be in now. They can't lose if he goes out.
That makes... Yes, and he's great call from Gilberto. He's hit the 10. The table will check this down. They don't want to fight amongst themselves. They just want to have maximum chance to knock out Giamatti. And they're all ganging up on him, and
Giamatti.
Sure enough, and that happened because of the brilliant call from Gilberto to increase the chances of knocking out Giamatti.
Well, Gilberto's done brilliantly, I think, this whole final table so far.
Yes, for me, that's been the player of the evening at this table. Gilberto was short-stacked. He's taken his opportunities when they presented themselves, and he's got his reward with a seat at the Poker Bowl final.
Well, snap it. It's a Golden Jaguar, Ace Jules, Gilberto, double top, Bono U2. Round of applause for you guys. You're coming to London. It's going to be wonderful. I might have to come along as well and have a watch and be there. I think I might do that if I'm not doing anything else.
Is it stretch limos all round, Michelle?
I think it should be, to be fair.
I think so, yeah.
I'll pick them up, you know. Gosh, I don't mind.
But there must have been some very nasty moments for Snap It there.
Very nasty. It was a fight to the end, wasn't it? And Giamatti and Balrog, you have to feel sorry for them. You really do. It's awful to be bubbled in this particular competition, and you worked so hard.
And Giamatti didn't really do anything wrong, although I didn't even see what he had on the small blind when half of his chips went in on the small blind, but any 2 cards in that situation,
he should have gone in.
He would have been better off getting it in then, because he left himself with a stack that wouldn't have been a playable stack even if he had doubled through. That's the point.
Yeah.
As it went, he had a chance to quadruple
And he got so bullied, didn't he, at the end there? They all ganged up, didn't they? They were desperate to get rid of him.
What would you do?
Oh, exactly the same. And of course you're checking it down, of course. And like you say, you know, Gilberto coming in there, he knew that it wasn't huge to his stack, so he knew he could afford to call and big up the odds to getting rid of Giamatti.
Oh, they're carrying on playing this table.
Well, Snappet's gone, look. He's off skied.
Yeah, well, he's not wasting any more time ski.
He's off to bed. He's got his place. He's happy.
They've all achieved their objective.
And they're now just playing for the sake of it. So people are going to loosen right up now because they've been playing for so long. They're all in there. So we're going to see everybody just start playing now completely. But guys, well done to all of you. Congratulations. We're really looking forward to seeing you at the Poker Bowl Studios. Do we know when it is? We'll see if we can find out. And that'll be wonderful to watch.
And it will be televised here on
Poker Night Live.
Poker Zone. I'm not sure it'll be on Poker Night Live.
Well, yes, it'll be on Poker Zone. It'll probably be on just before Poker Night Live.
Okay. So, have we got some emails
We
there,
do.
Nicola?
We do have a couple here from Double Top and Balrog have both emailed in.
There was one you wanted to read that had some information about the multi-table tournament.
Well, we'll start off with the one from Balrog. It's a little bit about kind of what happened. He says, morning Michelle and John, the semi-final Poker Bowl. As I'm sure many others would have emailed in with their stories of woe, thought I'd join them with mine. Enjoyable tourney, and at one stage I was somehow cruising quite nicely. Although I went out on the final table, it was earlier on when I had the stuffing knocked out of me. One hand, when chip leader, I found myself on the big blind with ace-king. Re-raised the cut-offs raise and forced him all in or fold. Subsequently, lost my hand, subsequently ace-king not holding up against his ace-jack, which found another jack on the turn. Not a bad beat whinge, was on the right side of a few of them myself, and not least my 10-10 hitting trips on the river against aces earlier. And the thing is, as soon as I saw his hand, I realised I would be chip leader by more than double the next man and in a very comfortable position with 30k of chips, 30k plus of chips. It was a heck of a blow from which I never really recovered. Nonetheless, well done to the 6 finalists and good luck to each of them. Off to cook them all a lasagna. Balrog, I do feel for you. But well done for getting to that final table, because it's a feat in itself.
Considering that he was bubbled, I think he sent a lovely email in with very good grace.
Yeah, yes,
And
definitely.
that's not always easy when you've just been bubbled.
No, especially on something quite as big as this and that you've been playing for the last few weeks in as well. It's quite hard,
But
isn't it?
most people leave a table having been bubbled in a stream of abuse to the bad beat that they've just suffered. But losing ace-king to ace-jack is not really a bad beat, Balrog.
Yeah, he did say, didn't he? It's not so much a bad beat wins.
It's unpleasant, but you know that he's over 20%, even with ace-jack against ace-king. And I think somewhere around there anyway.
Look, John, while we've been talking, look how quickly it's got to heads up.
Well, of course, I mean, they don't care.
We're ready
They may as
for
well
bed.
go all in every hand. They're not playing for anything. That's why you can't play poker without playing for something.
Oh, no.
Okay, one from Double Top.
Yes, we do have one from Double Top here. We'll do it just in a second, actually. We'll just watch the end of this here, because I think we're coming up to the last couple of hands. Now, John, I've just been told, so it looks like they're just going to be all in. So we'll just quickly see the outcome. Just a little bit of glory being the winner of the final table of the semi-final.
Well,
Doesn't make too much
I
difference
don't
here.
think so. I don't think there's any glory in this because they're not playing for anything and it makes no difference. So we're not seeing proper poker here by any means. See, I don't know why he's folding. I don't know why he's folding to that raise. He may as well call. I don't quite understand. Maybe they do think they're playing for the glory.
Maybe. Well, I suppose... No, they don't get any money, do they, Abby? I know originally it was a rebuy. So it was the qualifiers. Right, but this was just the position, so there won't be any money to be won here. Just the wonderful prize of coming to the Poker Bowl Studios, 8-3, 5-8, all in with the 5-8, and Bono puts it down. You should have called Bono just for a laugh. Ace Jules ahead. Look at this rubbish. 9-5, 9-7. All in again. See, Ace Jules doesn't care. He's just all in every hand now. He just wants to go to bed. And it's been called finally by Bono, and I think we're going to see the end. Yes, we do. Ace Jules wins it. Well done. So Ace Jules, just as cement your victory. Email from Double Top. He says, "Hi, it's Double Top here. I am so tired, but I can't sleep. I got my ticket. It's just great. My only problem is that I have to tell my wife I have to cut my holiday short to be able to get to the film studios. Any advice, Michelle, on how I can tell her?" Well, you've got two choices. You can think that holiday with your wife is far more important and give your seat up to maybe poor Jamati or Balrog. Option number one. Or, come on, presents, flowers, dinner cooked, roses, something nice, something sparkly, you know, new clothes, new shoes, we love it. And another holiday, of course, don't forget that. We like that stuff. Lots of compliments. And to be fair, she's going to see how excited you are, and that, of course, she won't mind cutting the holiday short. And she can come to the studios as well. Do bring her along, that's fine. We don't mind. Well, what did you think of that final table then, John?
Well, I think it's very interesting action because you have to condense a large table down to 8 players for the final table, and then you're looking for just 2 players to get knocked out, and the remaining 6 all get the same prize. This is not a typical table that we cover here on Poker Night Live, and I found that fascinating actually, and I hope our viewers can notice how tight that table became, quite correctly so.
Very much so, yeah.
But some of the players who tightened up massively, we saw Snappet lay down some tremendous hands pre-flop that he would have been delighted to have been raising with earlier in the tournament. As it turns out, his strategy has worked for him as he's qualified. But it just goes to show that in the shifting sands of strategy, this is a situation where everything has changed. You've got just 2 players to be bubbled, and all the other ones are going to qualify. And therefore, careful. Don't take unnecessary risks.
No.
Let someone else bust out someone else.
And then a lot of unity play when somebody is all in, like we saw at the end there when it was just checking it down, and when people saw an opportunity to get rid of someone, them working together to make that happen.
But for me, the play of the evening there was the call by Gilberto with the 10-4. He was on the small blind. He could easily afford to make it up to the big blind, which more than covered Jamati's entire stack. And it was indeed his hand that was the only hand that beat Jamati.
Yeah, yes it was,
now,
with
it would have been very easy for Gilberto to lay that down. Jamati would have tripled through, or tripled through or doubled through. No, he would have tripled through. And he would have been sitting there with 11,000 chips and a perfectly playable stack.
Yeah. So very well done. And to be fair, Gilberto had played very well in the whole tournament, because when he was there, he kept being aggressive, even with the King 8, and I think with the King 4 at one point he pushed it all in, took a real risk.
He did, but that was really a force majeure because of his chip stack.
Yeah.
But I think...
but a lot of others were folding in the same position.
His call off the small blind is really inspired, because he can also expect that everyone is going to check it down after the flop. He's not going to get bet off this hand post-flop, and all he's doing is he's potentially giving, sorry, the guy who got bubbled, his name? Jamati. He's giving Jamati an extra 2,000 chips if he loses, but massively increases the chance of beating Jamati. And it was indeed his hand that was the only hand that ended up being able to beat Jamati's pair of 8s. So
well, Gilberto, you have the John Clark seal of approval. Well done. Congratulations for getting through to the Poker Bowl. Can't wait for that one. It's going to be fabulous. Now, for the end of the evening tonight, we're going to hit a cash game. So let's head over there. But it's a bit of a, you know, a bit of a come down now after all that excitement of the multi-table tournament there.
No come down here, Michelle. Pepe
I've got another 10 minutes with you, John. Of course it's not.
Okay, Pepe of Sweden has hit trips, and for some reason he's now hit quads, and somehow he got a call out of ace-10. I don't know what ace-10 is thinking. Oh, he got a call out of ace-2, and ace-10 comes out firing. He assumes that there's no king out there. Flat call. He must flat call. He knows he can't be beaten. What are you doing, Pepe?
You've got the nuts.
You've got position. You've got the nuts. You're unbeatable.
Oh, he does get called by the ace-10.
The ace-10 called his re-raise?
Yep.
Well, I think the money was in flat calling and allowing Goose to bluff heavy on the river.
Yeah. He couldn't be beat, so there was no harm in
Not
it.
impressed with Pepe there, re-raising. Not impressed. Sometimes you need to give your opponent the option to bluff, especially when you're sitting there with the unbeatable quads, which you don't see too often. You don't see a pocket pair hitting trips on the flop too often either, but SGI or SG145 has hit it, and he's hit it at a very good time because somebody else has hit top pair, and for some reason the ace-10 re-raises. This could turn into a monster, this hand. The ace-10 has no outs that I can think of anyway, and surely lays it down now. He does.
I had ace-2 once, and I decided I was on the small blind, and I decided to call up to the big blind with the ace-2, just for 25 cents, whatever it was. Okay. And I was on my text, looking at my phone, not concentrating, and I just clicked the call without seeing someone had put in I think it was a $5 raise, and I was playing on a 10 cent, 15 cent, 25 cent table. Couldn't believe it. The flop comes down 2-2-2, so I've got quad twos, and the poor other guy had the bullets.
Ooh.
So of course I slow played it and did the old let my time go right down, deciding whether to call his raise or not, and ended up taking his whole stack. And I didn't even, and even said, "What were you calling a $5 raise with ace-2 for?" And I put in, "I really didn't mean to. I'm so sorry."
It's a lovely story, but don't try this at home.
Yeah. Don't be calling a $5 raise.
Most of the time. That happened to me once as well. I flopped quad sevens playing 10-7 against pocket rockets.
Really?
And I'd taken a pre-flop raise. It was a minimum pre-flop raise. He was effectively slow playing his rockets.
Yeah.
And I slow played it all the way to the end until he put all his chips in first.
Isn't it
Thank
wonderful?
you very much. It's very nice when somebody puts all their chips in front of you when they are in fact drawing dead.
Yes, it is. It is a good feeling.
It doesn't happen very often though. Anyway, what's happening here? Loosey Goosey has no idea that she's behind.
Queen would have helped, but it doesn't
Might
come.
have won this pot if she'd come out betting on the flop, as nobody else hit it. Now the king is going to take it down. Pepe of Sweden.
Well, the king also, we could see, well, really wasn't very sure there because he had the rag king. Seemed a bit worried. King Jack is a hand I don't like.
The Kojak. No, it's not as good as it looks.
Sometimes you start getting excited because you've got two pictures, but then you realise how awful it is.
Well, the problem with it is that if you're raising pre-flop, if somebody calls you, they've probably got you dominated because you've got duplicated cards. I don't know if you ever talked here about the principle of fresh cards, but you know, if you're up against ace-king, let's say, or king-queen, you're much better off with 10-9 than you are with king-jack, for example, because you're 10 and you're did I say 10-jack or 10-jack? 10-jack, yeah. You're better off with 10-jack because you've got two fresh cards. I mean, it's fairly obvious. You're in the worst shape when you've got a duplicated cards, and we know that people tend to play kings and aces and okay, sometimes queens if they're coming with a king or an ace. And so very often you are better off playing with what are likely to be fresh cards. If you're short stacked and you've picked up 10-9 suited or something like that, this is not such a bad all-in move. At a multi-table, excuse me, a sit-and-go table tournament, not such a great move at a cash table, but if you're in a sit-and-go tournament or a multi-table tournament, short-stacked, 10-9 suited, not a bad hand to get involved with. Anybody that calls you, they're probably going to have overcards, but at least you're going to have fresh cards. You know, I'd rather be doing that with 10-9 suited than king-jack off, for example, because you're only really getting called by a hand where you're dominated.
Yeah.
You see?
And not knowing where you are is the worst place to be in while playing poker.
Interesting Just a flat call from the ace-king.
I've seen this quite a lot tonight, actually, people just limping with the ace-king.
It wasn't quite a limp. There was a raise in front of him to $1.
Oh, was there?
And 6-8 is desperately looking for a cheap other card. Doesn't hit his straight, and the ace-king takes it. Perhaps another bet on the end from Angelo might have taken that pot. Pepe of Sweden has the best hand of the table. Interesting that Posh Boy doesn't raise with ace-3 suited and the button.
No? Is that a hand you'd be raising with there?
A lot of people would, frankly. But he, quite correctly in my view, doesn't particularly want to get involved or try to steal 75 cents worth of blinds.
Well, Lucy Goosey is doing quite well in this game. We can see as a $50 max buy-in. She's done some work, and she's certainly made a profit tonight on this particular table. Of course, we don't know how many times she's bought in before over the length of the evening. But sometimes it's difficult, I find, when playing, when you're really ahead and you think, do I stop playing because I'm ahead and I've done well, or should I walk away now? Or do I carry on playing because I seem to be playing well against this particular table and it seems to be working for me?
Okay, sorry to interrupt you, Michelle. Interesting play here from the 9-9. It was just flat called the blinds. An easy call, incidentally, for the 10-7, who throws it away incorrectly. Nobody's raised this pot, and the ace-3 gets his reward. He's still worrying about his kicker, but slow plays it. The 9's come out firing. The 4-6 will throw it away. Now, re-raise here, Michelle, or flat call? Flat call.
Well, I think flat call.
Calls and checks. He's slow playing this to the maximum.
I think he knows that he's only really behind to another rag ace. And because there's 2 aces on the flop and 1 is his hand, it's more unlikely someone else has got an ace, even though it is possible.
He's behind to any other ace.
To any other ace, yeah, because the 2's there.
The 2 is there. So maybe he was just scared of there being another ace out there. I couldn't make up my mind whether he was slow playing this or...
Actually scared.
He was just scared because he knows he's got the worst possible kicker. Anyway... 6-7 picks up middle pair. But he's going to have... 6-7 is going to have trouble believing he's ahead here. And he's no longer ahead, as SG145 has hit trips, along with Angelo, who slow plays it. Excuse me, Angelo hasn't hit trips, he just hit a pair on the end. He just puts in a...
I was going to say, can they both hit trip 5s?
No, they can't. Well, they can. If there are 2 5s on the board, they can both have a 5 in their hand.
Oh, yeah, they could, yeah.
But not if there's only 1 5 on the board.
Raise from the a6 suited.
A tentative raise from Lucy Goosey. We'll probably get a call from the King 10 here. He picks up an open-ended straight draw. The ace-6 has missed it by a mile. Might well come out firing nevertheless. Probably should. There's been a check in front of her. She's every right to believe she's ahead, which she is. But not really by very much.
What does SG1 do?
Oh, easy call on implied odds against the big stack. Easy call from SG. Probably take everything if, you know, if Lucy has top pair or something and SG hits the straight.
We've only got a couple of minutes left. We'll quickly watch this hand. We've got the bullets here up against Ace-Jack. I have got an email here from Ace Jules as well, the winner of that final table tournament.
Oh, the bullets have slow played this.
Got a lot of people in this hand.
Yeah, because the bullets slow played it, Michelle. This is going to be a terrific hand. Is this our last hand?
Yep.
A terrific hand because the King-Queen has picked up top pair with a great kicker, has no idea that Goose is sitting there like a snake in the grass with the rockets, just ready to let them fire. Here he comes. Just flat
Oh, and
calls.
2 pair.
He just flat calls. He's going to get burnt for slow playing this.
Aces are gonna
He
get...
should have re-raised.
Oof.
He should have let the rockets off. Now he might bet, and it's Pepe that's slow playing this one.
Ooh.
What a terrific hand to finish on. He's coming over the top.
Ooh.
Sucker bet on the end. He's going to call it. Surely not re-raise.
Oh,
Idiot!
he's all in, what a hand!
Idiot! Why do you assume that you've won the hand before it's over?
And I have to very quickly do this email from Ace Jules before we go, because we've run out of time. Ace Jules was the winner of the final table. Says, hi Michelle, just wanted to say congratulations to the other 5 people who qualified. Looking forward to seeing you all. It was very tense and only just stopped shaking. It'll be even worse with the cameras. I can't wait. Can I also send my commiserations to Jamati? Also have to miss an exam at uni to be here. Wouldn't miss it for the world. He says he's our youngest player here at only 19. So congratulations. That's all we've got time for, John. It's been wonderful tonight. Thank you so much. I've really enjoyed it. But that is all we've had time for. So thank you very much for watching. Do join us tomorrow night at 10 p.m. But from John and I, it's good night and goodbye.
Good night.